And we are live. Welcome back to A Slightly Twisted Female. I'm your host, Brittany Rue. Hello, Turvin. We have Ella Androphobia in the house. Eldo, Mackenzie Leonard, and the wonderful Karen Davis. Sarah Stickapot. Hello, guys. Please be sure to hit the like, subscribe if you haven't already, comment, and yeah, I look forward to a lively stream. Today, we will be taking a look at Rivera in what I will do as sort of a series, taking a look at a lot of these so-called based true trans YouTubers who sort of like rise to popularity because they're criticizing the far left, hyper woke, like social justice warrior types, the TikToks, and it's like they're basically speaking out of both sides of their mouth. So they believe in the idea of like true gender dysphoria, that there is a true trans, that there is a true set of people who really actually are trans, and the way that you can discern who is trans and who's not trans as well, it's a little bit confusing. I've asked many proponents of true trans ideology, and I've not been able to squeeze out a coherent definition of true trans. But from what I've been able to sort of scotch tape together, it sounds a little bit like, well, they're homosexual transsexuals, and then but they're not always homosexual transsexuals, because then there are some who are heterosexual and pretty much fit the entire criteria of being an autogynephile, yet those would-be autogynephiles claim that they're not AGP and they're not homosexual transsexuals, but they're some sort of third type. And it's kind of like, sir, you actually are like quintessentially autogynephilic, but don't ask me. Then it's whether or not they put in a lot of effort and they begin transition. And then, for some people that transition can just be doing a lot of things. Other people say the transition can just be taking hormones. But then even though there's a lot of trans identifying people who fit those qualifications, but that are still kind of not considered true trans by this group, none of it makes sense. We're going to take a look today at Rivera. I guess he's like a failed comedian turned YouTube actor. He's a Mexican. I don't know if he lives in Mexico or if he's like a Mexican American. But he is a gay man, and it's funny, in one of his recent videos, he was like, I could have a much bigger following if I, didn't take the stand. Like, he's acting as if he's like sacrificing popularity to like stand on his principles. He's like, I could have a much bigger following if I just aligned with the narrative of, like the whole trans narrative, but because I am gender critical, I don't even think he says that, I'm not as big. And it's like, that's such bullshit. I went through his, hey, hold on, my dog just stole a shoe. What do you have? And so anyway, all right, so he's been like, he's had his YouTube, oh, sorry, honey. I think he's had his YouTube for like 6 years or something, and I was going through it, and it's like literally for the first, up until maybe 6 months ago, I didn't realize how quickly his rise to, not fame, but, how quickly his trajectory went from being like flatline to all of a sudden he had a pretty rapid trajectory where he gained a lot of followers. And I was trying to look through, and let's look through it together. It's interesting because it's like he tries all these different angles. It was like he was talking about like, the Kardashians, and he was trying to do like a weight loss vlog for a while. Then he was doing like something like gossip. And he was averaging between like 70 and like 150 views. And it wasn't until he started taking on this sort of Blaire White-esque left-wing true trans talking points. He very much, and it's like none of it makes sense. There's no logical formula. And I want to be clear. A lot of people are like, why are you attacking these people they're on our side. They agree with you. It was funny because even Buck Angel, when I reached out to Buck Angel about coming onto my channel, she was like, yeah, I would love to, and I was like, great, I think it'll be a great conversation. I really appreciate you. Like, again, like, she's really nice. She's like, honestly, is a nice person. And part of it might be like a low self-esteem thing, just trying to be likable. But I also do think, again, she's a woman. You know what I mean? She's a lot different than a lot of these men. And it's like, even though, she's done a lot of heinous things, and I think has, I think a lot of it's like rooted in addiction and just really poor decision making. And she's like part of like that victim to abuse, like the abused to abuser pipeline. You know what I mean? She ends up like grooming people because of the way that she was groomed, whatever. But I remember she's like, yeah, friend, I think that you'll find that we have a lot more in common than you think. And I was like, I don't think that's going to happen. But, and I think maybe she just didn't know how much like I knew about her viewpoints, or what my, like qualms were with her. Even when I spoke to Ariel Scarcella was like, yeah, we pretty much agree with everything, which, but again, it's like, these are the people, and especially who have always been a part of the LGBTQ, whatever, the LGBTQIAP. And it's like they are able to like point out and criticize some of the problems, but they still have one foot in and one foot out, right? And they respect the pronouns, and they believe that some people truly need transition and a lot of stuff. And again, the reason why I'm harping on this is because I don't think a lot of people get it. And there's a lot of people who otherwise consider themselves gender critical who still co-sign and adhere to a true trans narrative. And I don't think people realize how dangerous that is, how much that will be the downfall of whatever progress we make as a community with gender critical, because it's like building a life raft. I think Dragon Kittigan said it's perfect analogy. It's like building a life raft with like a pin-sized hole in it, right? We might be able to get pretty far towards land, but it will eventually sink. It's going to eventually sink us if we leave a back door open. If we lock all the doors in the house, right? There's an intruder trying to come in. We lock all the doors in the house, but we leave one window in somewhere, and it's going to happen again. It's exactly how they're going to recolonize. And these men are not stupid. They're the master manipulators. They're very good. They will find whatever sort of leeway we give them, they're going to take it. Okay, and we need to expose how nonsensical this is, how hypocritical, and everything else. So, all right, let's take a look. So again, Ty Rivera, I'm starting with you. Because again, it's like so many of these people are all of a sudden like, it's weird. By the way, I know I was talking about hold on, my dog. I love you, honey, but you can't be in here with me. I was talking about how my channel, like, it was growing at like a fast rate. At one point it was like I was getting like 350, subscribers a month. I'm down to 8 subscribers a month now. I'm getting 8 subscribers. Okay, my channel is like dead. It's completely flatline. It's happened in the past month or so. I don't know what it is that I'm talking about that is making everybody unhappy, or the algorithm unhappy. A lot of people have told me that they've been unsubscribed unnaturally from my channel. And so it's like, it's very clear that whatever I'm doing does not agree with the algorithm, and I don't care, because I refuse to self-censor, and I refuse to tailor myself. And it's like, we'll end up naturally like altering our beliefs and our rhetoric so that we can be successful in, the algorithm. Like, for example, Ariel Scarcella, she is a really popular channel, and it's like, I think when you toe the line, that's more acceptable. Like this guy Ty Rivera, it's like, no thanks, like not that smart, not that interesting, like not that funny. I guess he's like a comedian. It's like not really funny, and it's like these people who are like dull. And again, I think that there's more to it, right? They're keeping there's like a certain amount of them who, as we'll find, the messaging fits right into what the algorithm likes. And I think that right now, At first, it was all queer theory, everything. Then they realized that they had to allow some gender critical views to kind of trickle in. And it's all controlled. And it's only certain gender critical views. And again, like I've said in the past, it gives the appearance that gender critical views are now being discussed and platformed, and there's this marketplace of ideas, and we have all sides being represented. And it's really not true, right? Because they're not truly gender critical. They're gender. It's like we can sit there and we can point out the most mentally ill, the most clearly ridiculous people, and it's like they're happy sacrificing that. But then we can point to like, oh, but people like Blaire White and Buck Angel, who they acknowledge reality. They're based. They're real based. It's like it's not based if you're still shooting testosterone every day, calling yourself tranpa. Also, Buck Angel, by the way, was like, that's another, I need to go through some of her stuff. I kind of want to talk to her again even, but it's like, she had a bunch of, I don't know. I have such like a complex, I have probably the most complex opinion on. I think she's done really egregious things. I think she should not have a platform at all. I think she pretty much has lost all what I think would like privilege to continue to speak on this topic. She's done so much damage. She's been so wrong in the past. She's caused so much harm and turmoil. I think the best way to make amends is to just log out, get off completely, or only deal with making amends for the harm that she's done. She doesn't need any more takes. She doesn't need to be like guiding us anymore. She just needs to be like basically self-reflecting on everything that she's done harmful. However, it's like I do also see a lot of how she's been a victim, right? And I do feel like out of all of these people, Blaire White and all this stuff, there's still something inside of her that I think is more honest. And it's like, I think there's a side of her that like yearns for like the lesbian community, despite the amount of damage that she's done to them, and yearns for the community of women. But it's like she's just too addicted to all the perks that this sort of like sideshow that she's been a part of gives her. And then it's like Blaire White. So anyway, let's take, so there's like a lot of these now peripheral people who are coming up. So we have like Marcus Dibb, the like, offensive tranny. It's so cringe because it's like these people like, yeah, like I'm living on the edge, taking all these like, these offensive takes, and I don't care. I'm going to say what I want. And it's like, they're all like these super safe takes. They're safe, Marcus. And it's so annoying because people get mad at me. I had talked about Ty Rivera. Let's just start with my post about Ty Rivera. I was like, I called him out for some dumb thing they had. And he was like, Ty Rivera is like, oh, he's on our side. And I was like, bro, no, he's not. He's just, again, it's like this whole shtick right now is super popular. This like, being bit. Oh, fuck, hold on. What the fuck is my channel? It's like he's like, yeah, I would get so many more followers if I was, being like a gender influencer. That's not true, because it's like they're so oversaturated right now that they're finally allowing some gender critical voices come. It's like there was a brand new market that opened up and we had a bunch of people come flooding in to fill it. Right. And it's only certain gender critical voices that are allowed. And I think that people like, Matt Walsh and them were able to totally sidestep the algorithm because they literally created their own media empire. There's no way to really silence them. Right. So then it's like, but in terms of like what YouTube and Google are able to have control of, it's like they're allowing this sort of new market of these like gender critical voices, but they're all very like advertiser friendly. Okay. It doesn't fully deal with the issues. And it's all this like real surface level, like dunking on the, like I said, the real mentally ill people and not really dealing with the real issues. And it's all like, if you're popular, if you're, pretty, if you look good and you could be part of like the cool LGBT, then you make the cut. You know what I mean? But if you're like kind of ugly or like autistic or just socially awkward and kind of like frumpy, then like everybody can like get together and like dunk on you and it's all funny. Everyone's like high-fiving each other as if they're not doing the same thing, as if they're not this same kind of like illogical cringe that they're calling other people out for. And they're allowed to sit there and have entire channels around criticizing other people, but like you're not allowed to criticize them. I think it was even like Isaac got in trouble for like calling out Marcus Dib. I've never been able to have a Blaire White video that stayed up until I started like really being like Blaire. You know, I think to the point that now Blaire knows that like enough of the people who that he knows know of me that I can like I can really expose him if he keeps well I can actually expose him now if he keeps getting my videos taken down. When I was like a newer YouTuber, when no one knew anything about my work or anything like that, it was easier to get away with. But at this point, it's like I don't make like like it's not like my whole life revolves around my ability to make a living off of YouTube. So I can just keep coming back and keep exposing it. So all right, so let's see. I had done all right. So I had like watched this one Rivera thing. Okay, here we go. Where is it? I said, challenge, create a coherent synopsis of YouTuber Rivera's logic regarding transsexual versus transgender people. And again, it's like Rivera is like part of like, he's like one of these older guys who was like, you know, part of the community, the LGBTQ community before it like went super woke and before this whole conversation really hit the mainstream. And it's like, it reminds me of one of my college professors who was this like butch lesbian who was one of my favorite video professors, but she was like really up into drag. She like loved drag shows. She had like, you know, lived in San Francisco, Haight-Ashbury area during the AIDS crisis, was really involved in that. I mean, had a lot of history and like was very supportive of like, you know, trans women. And it's like, we need to kind of let go of this I feel like myth of like the old school transsexuals who were, you know, really fine and it's like it was never fine. Okay, it was never fine. It just didn't have the it didn't have like the viral quality that it now has where it becomes like an emergency. But it's not like this whole like myth of like if we could just go back to like the old school ways. And it's like we also need to remember how instrumental the LGB really was. I'm sorry, but we have to, the same way that we have to hold women to account for their role in ushering this whole trans thing in, the LGB has a lot of dirt on their hands for caping for this, for allowing it. And now I think why a lot of these like effeminate gay men and gay men in general are now really starting to push back on the trans thing is because it's like it's almost becoming like it puts pressure on them to have to sort of follow suit, you know. It's like they can't just be these high effeminate gay men. It's like they're all getting pushed into transing themselves. And that's the same thing with like these butch lesbians who are now getting really angry. Women like Carol and women like, you know, Yvette, who I guess isn't like a fully, you know, VF555. You know, she said, forever, my whole life, people have always been pushing me to troon out. As if, oh, you know, you would be happier maybe if you were just a man, you're masculine, you're a lesbian. And she was like, I never wanted that. I liked being a woman. I wanted people to leave me alone. And it's like they're frustrated because they see it decimating their community. And I think a lot of these old school LGB people have a big role in this. They're not innocent, not totally innocent. And it's a shame because they're really hurting their own community by still keeping this true trans thing. But at the end of the day, men are going to cape for other men. Gay men are going to cape for other gay men, which is what the bulk of these, you know, transgender women are. So I said, challenge, create a coherent synopsis of YouTuber Rivera's logic regarding transsexual versus transgender people. That's like the big differential that they make now. It's like the true scum, trans medicalist, transsexuals are like the base, trans people. And then it's like the transgenders and the like non-binary and queer are like the cringe, you know? And it's like actually, sirs, you're actually all cringe. And that's the thing. But I said Ty is a gay man I had originally said Kai is a misogynist gay man who capes for other misogynistic gay men who use trans as a sexual dating strategy using logic that makes absolutely no sense. Remember, transgenderism and transsexualism are anybody who tells you that gender and sexuality have nothing to do with each other are so full of shit. It has everything to do. The reason why we have two sexes and the reason why we're a sexually dimorphic species is because of sex and reproduction. Okay? That they're all linked. You know, there wouldn't be any need to create these two categories if it didn't have to do with sexuality. Just because it might not be like a direct correlation, you know, because we have things like transbians and you know, gay trans men doesn't mean that they're not related. Homosexual transsexuals are also predators. They just are being predators towards men, right? They're trying to deceive other men. They're trying to cuttlefish men, whereas the autogynephiles are trying to cuttlefish women, right? They're both being deceptive, and it's a sexual strategy for both groups. Okay, so it's not like the gay. I understand that we have like more sympathy towards homosexual transsexuals, but it's like because there's less. I think that autogynephiles have a higher rate of like sadism with them, but it doesn't mean that these are like these like super sweet, helpless, you know, gay men who just want to like, you know, be happy and fit in. Not all of them. You know what I mean? It's like that you have to be like a certain level of a liar to want to go through and do all of this. You know, or I mean, I do think that some people are really also mentally ill and preyed upon, but those are the people who like quickly detransition. I'm talking about people who are trans identifying, who persist in doing all of this, and who are aware of all of the gender critical. I mean, I actually think there's something very insidious if you know all of the gender critical arguments and you still persist in calling yourself trans. It's like you have no excuse at that point. Okay, it's like you're just intentionally disingenuous. I'm really hot. Give me 1 second. All right, so I said, yeah, bonus drinking game. Take a shot every time Ty says trans friends. That's all I do. They have so many trans friends. All right, so let's take a look. Let's start. I'm going to start with this video because this is the one that I had originally.
Did you know that you can change your animal's feelings relatively easily? If you want to have a mindful relationship with your animal, then you might want to watch this video. This video I'm going to share with you.
A dangerous situation, and it wasn't uncommon, and nobody had our backs. So to make it sound like I haven't been...
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that local recordings are now available on StreamYard. Have you ever done...
They don't care about us. They don't stand with us. They don't fight with us. I am trans.
Wait, what? You've got a lot of nerve, young lady, and I am going to go on a bit of a rant because this person has a lot of nerve trying to come for me in any way while they're putting on trans face, trying to pretend that they're something that they're not.
And we can get into who's really trans later.
And yes, I said trans face, and I will continue to refer to non-binary as being trans face. I'm not playing non-binary. I'm not feeding non-binary. I'm not humoring non-binary. All of that is off the table. And to people like this young lady or that young man that we saw the other day arguing with Blaire White about I don't know what with the rolled up condom on his head, the deal is I'm not humoring you. Find your audience and badger them and hope that they'll humor you. I am not the one. I'm a person that really is in support of trans people, but when I say trans people, I mean transsexual. I'm not talking about transgender because I think a lot of these people are searching for an identity and they think they found it and pretending to be something that they're not. What's up,
All
everybody?
right, again, so to be clear, as he just let us know, his concern is not with the safety of women and children and society and, you know, mentally ill and vulnerable adults. No. Ty's concern is about protecting the sort of like old school LGBT community. Right? He's caping for his like other gay male friends. Okay? His other gay male friends who are using trans as a sexual dating strategy. That's where his concern lies. So don't tell me that I'm going after somebody who's on our side. This is not my side. My side is women and children with a side of vulnerable men, right? So women, children, and then vulnerable men who were really taken advantage of and who are detransitioned and trying to get their lives back. You know, who were delusional at some point, preyed upon, whatever, and are now trying to do everything in their power to put an end to this so it doesn't happen to anybody else. That's who I stand with. This is not my side. It's not my side. I don't... You know, so again, these are the type of people who like see like, oh, as long as you're like pretty and popular and you're like one of the cool trans and you fit. And no, I'm sorry. I'm not playing these games.
Everybody, Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. As always, I'm going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe.
Why are you still calling yourself the best? First of all, he's like not funny, so I don't understand like why calling himself like the best. I guess he like tried doing stand up for a while. It's like not that great, but like you're talking about how Q is like you're gonna talk like you don't agree with queer anymore. Why are you still calling yourself the best LGBTQ comedian? Again, it's like this is all just like a shtick. It's all a grift, right? It's because there's a new market now for these like true trans YouTubers to like dunk on the queer stuff and everything else. And you know why? Think about it real quick. The gender industry doesn't really like queer people because what do the queer theories say, or what are a lot of the queer talking points that recently came out? We don't owe you femininity. You don't need to medicalize to be trans. You don't need to get surgeries to be trans. You don't even need to take hormones. They don't like that message. Whoa. Hey. Now you're stepping out of line. Now we have no use for you. Now we have no problem sacrificing you and getting rid of all of you, because if we can't profit off of you, we don't stand with you. The gender industry only wants to profit. So of course, true trans, that's the profitable business model. If you can tell kids that, oh, the only way to really be trans is if you go all the way with medicalizing, and not just medicalizing. It's not just like the surgeries themselves, but it's getting your nails done and your hair done and lip fillers and Botox and face fillers and special clothes. It all has to do with spending money, right? Spending a lot of money. You know, and it's like, it's problematic when people start to come out and say, hey, listen, you don't need to do all that to be trans and queer. You know, you be who you are, and you don't, no, they didn't like that. They didn't like that. So now this is the profitable business model.
You want to comment just to help me on the algorithm and you don't know what to comment, just leave a knife. Because I would come for my own neck if I didn't respond to this stupidity. Here's the deal, you guys. So we're going to listen to this woman read me on what it is I'm doing wrong on TikTok. And we'll discuss what she has to say about me bit by bit. And then I'll play the entire video, which is only about 1 minute, that she was so upset about. And I was so out of line for. And I'm mocking and whatever else she's about to say in this video. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I am hotter than fish grease. And to her, I would say, you got the right one, baby. Here we go. And then you wonder why trans people are unaliving themselves at alarming rate.
This is an example of how cis people want to use.
Again, this is a true trans person, he says, and you wonder why trans people are unaliving themselves at an alarming rate. Why? Because other people are calling themselves trans because they're not the center of attention anymore, because their whole attention grift is getting taken out from under them, and they're angry because now it's like it's not special anymore, like everyone's doing it, and they're frustrated. That's what it seems like. No, they're unaliving themselves because honestly, I think that if we're affirming a delusion, and that is a dangerous thing, because you affirm something that can never be possible, and once reality finally starts to hit them again, then it's like they crash all the way down. It's this like really artificial, inflated sense of, oh wow, I finally am doing something, until that artifice cracks because someone misgenders. That's why misgendering people, like, it is such a punch to the gut for them, because it's like so many people have participated in this emperor's new clothing where they're all mass gaslighting. Like, yes, girl, you look beautiful. I couldn't even tell. Yes, like, yes, miss, what would you like? And like, ooh, I'm being, properly gendered, and everybody thinks that I pass. And then finally you have somebody who's honest and they're like, sir, huh? And then it's like it all comes crashing down, like, oh, everybody was just lying to me and just saying that to make me feel better, and I feel horrible. No, that's dangerous. These people are mentally ill for other reasons. The trans stuff is the symptom. It's a symptom. That's not the core issue here. Yeah.
Use that trans experience and trans trauma for entertainment. You don't care about trans people, and any cis person that uses trans trauma and trans issues for entertainment, for coins and views, and for likes.
If I were doing this for likes, I would get more likes and I would be more...
Wait, really quick, because he's about to say something cringe. They both are making the same argument. She was like, and he's saying anybody who co-ops the trans experience and real trans trauma, that's why trans people are unaliving themselves. And then she's saying the same thing back to him. She's like, oh, anybody who's co-opting the trans experience is like mocking the pain. You're both saying the same argument back to each other. None of it makes sense. Like, all of you are clowns. Nobody's based. Hi, you're not based. Like, you're just caping for your bros. They're also men. They're men. They're not any more woman than any of these other people. And also, all these people you claim are like fake trans, you still respect their pronouns. So it's like, how much are you really standing on it?
Or popular, especially...
This is such a lie. He's about to lie.
Views and for likes.
If I were doing this for likes, I would get more likes and I would be more popular, especially in the mainstream. If I agreed with all the things that you're saying, that would be more lucrative to me. Technically, taking the stance that I've taken has not helped my career. It's hindered my career.
Let's fact check Ty Rivera on that little. Let's see, Ty, is that true? Has it really hurt your career to come out as like fake gender critical? Let's see, because you used to be like pro trans everything, so you must have been like me. You must have lost a lot of followers once you started finally speaking the truth. Is that true? Is that true, Ty? Or are you just putting on? So it sounds like you're like you're like swimming upstream and you're fighting the good fight. It's so fucking fake. No. But go ahead. Let's go at your oldest and let's take a look, Ty. Let's take a look. It's so bullshit. The only reason he started getting views was because he started doing this fake gender critical thing. All right, so let's see. Oldest. Okay. All right, so he starts off, let's see. 15 years ago is when he started this channel. And like, Ty, you should probably go and like clean some of these up, because these are like these like cringe, like whatever. So 15 years ago, okay, lesson. He has like a parrot. My friend Boone Shakalaka, Ty Rivera, it's like little trip vlogs, so Ty Rivera goes to Honolulu. Let's see. It's like, like one of these personal little, I guess it's his like old personal YouTube account that, God. All right, so let's see. Okay. Well, he said it could be a little chunky, I guess. The original show idea, first actual vlog 13 years ago. So he's like averaging like 300 to like 1,000. Okay, pimped out DCs. Oh, you got 307,000 views. Don't drink and drive. So it's like he's playing with all these different topics for a long time, okay? He said he's got just these random vlogs. No one's really checking for any of this. America's favorite bag, the cinnamon challenge. Okay, here's Ty's stand up. Let's just get like a quick check at Ty's stand up. Okay, this one, 118,000 views. Is this hilarious? Oh, Comedy Central stand up revolution. Let's hear it. Is it real hilarious? Let's find out.
Welcome to the stage, you guys. I had the pleasure of watching this guy perform. He is amazing. He's a guy that put your seatbelts on. It's about to get crazy. Give it up and show some love all the way from Arizona for Ty Rivera.
So, I know some of you are wondering who invited the gay Filipino. Don't worry, guys, I'm not Filipino. Yeah, I'm so glad nobody looked surprised when I said that. Sometimes when I'm performing and I say that I'm gay, people look surprised, and I feel like, what exactly was throwing you off?
Yeah, Jenny Tallworth's my identity. Yeah, it's like when you don't have any jokes, you can just be like, I'm gay. Like, you're probably wondering why I'm gay. Because I'm dude and I like dudes. Everyone's like, and it's like, you tried the identity thing, you know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like it's like these people who get mad because it didn't work out for them because it became so oversaturated to be like, you know, use your like identity as like, you know, your whole personality. It's like when like being gay is like your only personality. That's the only shtick that you got. When being trans is like the only thing you got to your personality. And then it's like, for a while, people used to be able to have like huge followings off of that. But then after, you know, after a while, it was like, all right, like we don't care anymore. And they like, people started to get like annoyed and push back. And they're like mad that like, oh, I couldn't, you know. So now they have to like take on a new like grift. It's all just a fucking grift. And no, he's like, I don't know. I actually did think that he was like, I thought he was Filipino too. He does look Filipino. Anyway.
When you look and sound like this, you should never have to say that you're gay. I'm serious, this voice is a curse. Sometimes I listen to myself on recordings and I feel like, I get it, God, I'm gay. Was the voice really necessary?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Menno is like the only gay gender critical who's like fully holding the line. I guess there's that other guy who Kai brought up. What's the other guy? The guy that you were talking about, Kai? The black gay dude who goes on like Daily Wire. I guess him. I don't watch him. I've never actually really watched him before. But as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Menno is the one who like most fully holds the line. As far as I can see, he has like my full support. Like if anybody, yeah, Clive Simpson's okay. What did I? Clive Simpson had some. I had to like clown him at one point. What did I dunk on him for? I don't remember. But oh God, what was it? I think it was during like the whole case dust up. But yeah, I guess he holds the line too. But as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Menno can like do no wrong. I've never seen a take with Mr. Menno that I'm like, oh, he's weak or he's flimsy. And he does the thing that I love about Mr. Menno, it takes such a firm stance and he holds the line so well. But he's so nice. Something I could never do. He's so nice. He's such like a genuinely like, seems like a kind-hearted, like fun-loving person. And I have a good radar for when it's like fake nice, when people are just doing it to be like, he seems like he's genuinely like full of light. You know, I love Menno.
Besides, these eyebrows don't just happen.
This is the stand. This is.
And I think gay people need to remember that they offend people too sometimes. Yeah, like when the gay marriage thing happened in California, they started a campaign called Gay is the New Black. Yeah, which pissed a lot of black people off. And understandably so, because I hate to break it to everybody, but black isn't done being black yet. this country,
Bro,
but
what?
black is still black. And you can't even effectively compare the two. You know, like I as a gay man will have people talk to me, hang out with me. In some cases want to be my friend, and then they find out I'm gay and suddenly they want nothing to do with me.
Which
Where
I'm
with
sure
black
doesn't
people, you
happen.
automatically know you don't like them. Please understand, I am not racist. I'm just from Arizona.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious. That was fucking hilarious. All right. So anyway, back to trying to figure out the timeline here. Holy shit, that was fucking something else. All right. Fuck, hold on. Okay, so again, he says that he wasn't popular. He could have been so much more popular if he had just gone along with the queer theory narrative. But is that true, Ty? Is that true? Let's take a look. Let's keep looking for it. All right, wait. So that little detour to see how hilarious you are was something else for sure. Well, let's see. Okay, don't drink and drive. Some stand up, which was god awful to be real. Okay, so now he's doing like a health and weight loss vlog, which worked because he was a little, I think, overweight at one point. Seems to have lost a decent amount of weight. Whoa, he does look good from there to there. Okay, anyway, Master Cleanse, great, good for you. Great, let's see, he's getting, 187 views, 500 views. Quick little update, talking about more comedian stuff that no one's checking for because it's not funny. Quick update, introducing Iron Glib, more stand-up that sucks. Travel vlog. It's like he's trying his hand at anything, right? Okay, for your consideration, more jokes that were not funny. Oh boy, more Ty Rivera talking about how he's gay, and I guess that's the punchline. He's just gay and he's Mexican. That's pretty cray. Oprah, and then let's see. Okay, so 6 years still, topping out at like between like 100 and like 1,000 views a video. Unbothered, more unbothered. These like kind of low quality thumbnails. Ty Rivera. Why are they all like stretched out like this? Maybe he's just bad at making thumbnails. Special I1. Like there's no coherence. It's like he's just trying to grab like any topic, which is fine. I mean, a lot of people do that. They have their own little YouTube channels where they just kind of play with the different, topics, and it's, whatever. And it's like they're trying to see what's going to stick. Now, okay, episode 36, the real Facebook. I remember when that happened. So now he's talking about just like current events and like viral stories. Bill O'Reilly. It's like all a bunch of random stuff. Lindsay Jennings, Suicide Girl. God, I remember that. The N-word. No, I don't have to tell you I'm trans. Oh, let's hear this one. No, I don't have to tell you I'm trans before dating. Oh, let's hear about how he supports stealth, rape by deception, aka. It's like
performance that truly matters.
It's like Ty. It's like you might want to go through. Oh, cool. What is it? Anyway, we might want to go through and put some of the clean up your past history. It was like Lisa Michelle. Lisa Michelle has such like a similar where she used to have like all these videos where it was just like all like random junk and like vlogs, and then like these like embarrassing things where she was talking about like how badly she wanted to be like a trad wife, and then it's like and then 2 years later, she's like hardcore radical feminist, like separatist and all this sort of stuff, who lives with her dad and whatever. And it's like this anti-makeup. Yet you have all these like videos of you in like makeup, and you're like continuously half naked in sports bras, but you're talking about like self-objectification. It's like if you're gonna be so self-contradictory and you're just constantly playing with these different political takes. You know, you're trying on all these different hats to see like which like personality fits you. Maybe go back and like private some of the other videos you have that show that you like are a 40-year-old who has no idea who you are. You're just trying to fit in somewhere, find some sort of like community somewhere, trying to figure out who you are ideologically. And it totally contradicts like what you said, you know, like 7 months ago. Maybe just like private those so you don't look like you're just totally like cringe adult floating in the wind trying to like come up with a personality somewhere.
Hey guys, Ty Rivera here, and today I had told you that I would discuss an article that I saw a couple weeks back. I was getting ready to board a plane.
Yeah, and it like Days of Boyhood says it's one thing to change your mind, but be honest about what you used to think and talk about it instead of pretending you are always whatever you claim to be. Yeah, and how about, and it's like the thing is, my thing is, it's like if you changed your mind so much and you constantly had to like do these like 180s and stuff, then it's like it just, to me, it's like the like real self-righteousness once they finally pick an identity that they like and then they like get real self-righteous about it to everybody else as if you weren't completely whatever it is you're criticizing like 6 months ago, where it's like Lisa Michelle is like, I just can't like was like going after me because I wear makeup. She's like, I just can't do it anymore. I mean, it's like, my God, I've already told you so many times about like why makeup is oppression. It's like she just doesn't get it. It's like, Lisa, you have like 50 videos of you wearing makeup. She's like, the biggest problem with adult women wearing makeup, it's a bad influence on younger girls who could see it. It's like, if that's true, then you should private your other videos. You know, if you're constantly talking about self-objectification and you know, you're like scathingly just despising every woman who maybe, you know, dressed up to be sexy for a man or to be attractive to a man, yet you're half naked in so many of your videos, your workout videos, like maybe like deal with that hypocrisy, right? And it's like, and then maybe have like some humility. And also it's kind of like what I said to, what did I say this? I said this to like one of the Gen Spec therapists who's like still standing with Gen Spec, and she was talking about how she stands with Gen Spec and she doesn't agree all the dust up with like all the women getting mad about the AGP gate. And then she goes on to talk about how she had worked as a therapist for a long time and she regrets the fact that she used to be fully supportive of like affirmation therapy and gender therapy. And I remember like commenting on her thing, and I was like, hey, remember the part where you acknowledged that like for a long time you had bought into the cult as a professional therapist and you probably did a lot of harm while you were doing that. But again, once again, you're now taking this like real hard line, about like, you know, we're all idiots because we think that Gen Spec is nefarious. Well, you were wrong before. And I mean, very wrong before, dangerously wrong before. You hurt other people because you were an expert. Like it's one thing to just be like a random guy on the YouTube screen, like Ty, and being wrong. It's another thing when you're a professional who's being paid and charged and certified to work with very vulnerable populations and being very wrong in a way that harms their health. Okay, and I was like, if you've been wrong before, maybe have the humility to recognize that you just might be wrong again. So before you take this, like, you know, totally trust your judgment. It was the same thing like what I was saying to like that Laura lady where she's like defending Phil Illy. And it's like you acknowledge that you were so delusionally wrong at one point, whereas you double mastectomied yourself. Maybe consider that you might be wrong again before you get real self-righteous and self-indignant against other people who you disagree with. Maybe just like hang back for a second and really think this through, you know, and try not to be like act like you're this like authority on stuff when you fucked up so badly in the very recent past. You know, just a tip. So let's hear about how he believes that rape by deception is legit.
And I saw this article that was titled, "No, I don't have to tell you I'm trans before dating you." A lot of times people ask me why I even care about this stuff. And the thing is, I've had trans friends my entire adult life.
Okay. He actually might be saying that rape by deception is bad, which is good. That's fine. But again, let's just kind of get a sense of the timeline on this.
All the way back to MySpace days, I had posted about how I want to one day be able to help the trans community. And I think this is a good time to step in and help a little more, just because there's a lot of really bad advice going on. And I know some people, no matter how gingerly you try to put this, will act like you're transphobic, but constantly telling people they're transphobic for asking questions is not going to help your cause. Actually, what it's going to do is it's going to further alienate you from people and make people not really want to deal with you, which...
Okay, all right, so he's saying that good, stealth is bad, okay, and that's good, but again, it's clear that it's all within the framework of being supportive. I don't know if you guys saw the Blaire White really exposed himself during the Jubilee debate, and I want to pull that part up where he's basically, they're saying, oh, you're doing a lot of harm to the trans community. He goes, no, actually, I care so much about the trans community. I'm doing everything that I can to clean up the trans reputation so that people can start accepting us again. Okay, Blaire made it clear that his top priority is reinstating trans acceptance. That he saw that people were like ruining the reputation of being trans, and he thought he had to like come in and try to save it so that people will accept being trans again. That's what it's about. It's not really about protecting women and children and society and stuff like that. It's so that they can continue with the grift. And this is why I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is why the true trans is so dangerous. It's not actually about undoing all of this stuff. It's actually about protecting it. Because the more that you have these like psychos that spiral off, the it is ma'am type guys, those are peaking everybody. And these other trans people who know how to play by the rules are seeing that, and it's getting them mad because they know it's blowing their cover. It's making us look more deeply into this trans thing, and all of the lies that we sort of took for granted before, that, oh, they have to do it or they'll unalive themselves, and oh, we have to pay for it, that trans health care is life-saving. And it's like, once we had all these people who took it too far, it made the public start to look into some of these other claims that we just took for granted before. And they're like, God damn it, if you would have just shut up, they wouldn't have looked into these other lies that we told. We would still be getting everything covered, and we'd still, nobody would even be batting an eye, and they'd all support us. That's what this is about. That's 100% what this whole true trans thing, it's about keeping it alive so that the pushback is not so great as to eradicate it. Let's take a look at some of the... Natasha Goldstein says, I don't get it with some people. I have no problem straddling the fence. I love your channel. I also like Blaire White as well. I accept that she certainly has past. You have no problem straddling the fence. Okay, is that like? I'm not sure that that's something to be like proudly like announcing. You realize straddling the fence means that you actually don't have any like real principles. That you're just kind of like, you're like flimsy with it. Maybe you don't fully understand the issues here. And if you're still calling a man she, no offense, but like on this channel, then you haven't been listening, and you don't really get it. And you don't really understand why giving away our language is so dangerous to women and children. I'll say it again. Once you like de facto change the definition of a woman just in practice and colloquialism, it will eventually officially change the official definition of a woman, which has already started to happen in dictionary. Once you legally change the definition of a woman, then you change every law and piece of legislation that we've ever fought for that talks about women. It now has a different meaning, and it no longer protects us as a sex class. and it becomes a costume that anyone can identify into. This is why I got mad at Helen Joyce, and this is why I'm telling Helen Joyce to fuck off, and everybody who gets mad about the so-called pronoun police, the people like me and other women who refuse to sit by idly and participate in other people giving our language away. Why? Because you will change the meaning of these words. We will no longer have the ability to speak about ourselves, and it'll change everything. Like, for example, say we have like a science, these studies and things. Say we have like criminology studies. Well, you change the definition of a woman to include anyone who identifies as one, then we can't accurately report on crime stats. And when we can't accurately report on crime stats, we can't accurately understand about how things happen and why and how to best protect women and children, right? We can't accurately call out the problem, which is male violence. Then suddenly it seems like, well, women are as equally as violent. And it skews the truth. That is dangerous. That is dangerous. And that's only one of many other examples. Medical studies, exactly, Helena. Medical studies, we had to fight to finally have a medical and scientific community that developed protocols based on the female body. Did you know that for a long time, everything that was prescribed for women was based off of scientific information that was developed from studying the bodies of men? They weren't even studying women's bodies. It is so serious. It's happened before, and it will happen again if we don't protect this. There's just no room for, there is no middle ground, and that is not an extremist position. The fact of the matter is, none of this stuff existed before. The only thing extreme is saying that some men can become women. That's an extreme position. Okay? That some men, with enough surgeries, they can buy into womanhood. That's an extreme position. You know what's not an extreme position? That woman is born and not born. That being a woman is a biological reality. That the definition of a woman is an adult human female. That human female children are at particular vulnerability. That human males are apex sexual predators in the sense that their job is to sexually strategize how to get into women, literally penetrate into the spaces of women, literally and figuratively. They want to enter things, penetrate into things, cross boundaries, right? Sometimes it's a good thing, maybe sometimes it's a good thing if the guy goes out of his way and, he disrupts the woman who's, sitting at the cafe alone. He's like, hey, I'm sorry, I had to go out on a whim here, but, I see you in here all the time, and I think you're beautiful, and I just think there's something really interesting about you. Could I sit with you and talk with you for a little bit? Okay, that's crossing a boundary, but that's not in a bad way, right? And that, unfortunately, men, whatever, it's hard because they have to, but some men are just not calibrated right to understand when the boundary actually has to be respected. When the woman's like, actually, I'm sorry, but no, I'm not interested. And he's like, oh, but come on, I see you in here all the time, and I know. And she's like, no, I'm just not interested. I'm a lesbian. I'm not interested in men. He's like, oh, come on, you just haven't found the right guy yet. Let me take you out, Or it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like, whatever. Hold on. Helen Joyce doesn't use preferred pronouns, but she is telling women, and I hate that she specifically called women out when she was like, oh, fuck off to all the women. And she's like, and then men too. But it's like when you're around a bunch of misogynists like Jen Specht, which has a very male-centric line of thinking, it very much puts the needs of men and their sexual interests at this core. It's like, I just feel like she kind of assimilated with that vibe. I don't know if that's normally how she would think and feel, but I think when you spend too much time with people, and it lets me know that she's very easy to influence. It's like, I hate to say it, some of these people who maybe weren't very popular their whole lives, or maybe they're a little bit lonely, or nobody was ever really checking for them, and now it's like they have this in-group for the first time, this friend group that makes them feel accepted and a part of. And it's like, and I hate to say this, but I see this a little bit with Sierra, with Exolansic. It's like So maybe the same reason why she wanted to be trans in the first place. It's like, it just, the whole gen spec thing just feels so good to be a part of. I see people who will like actually acquiesce and compromise on their own principles just so that they can like be cool with all the like cool gen spec friends, you know, all the detransitioners that don't fully get it yet and that are going back and forth, right? And all these other like philosophers and stuff. And let's see. Yeah, so Girlina says, yes, there was a recent news headline about an athlete assaulting a, quote, pregnant person. If language continues to be altered in this way, eventually domestic violence situations will be viewed as simple mutual combat. Exactly. No, exactly. It actually is very serious. You know, and this is why I'm going to keep talking about the true trans issue until everybody fucking finally gets it. Let's see. So oldest. All right, so let's keep going. So we're still waiting on it. Okay, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, he has like 1 billion videos. Like, you should have just started a new channel or put some of these on private, or whatever. Hold on. So, okay. So it's like dabbling in a little bit of politics, a little bit of gossip, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He's like waiting to figure out where he fits in, right? So he realized, okay, the whole like I'm gay and Mexican shtick didn't, you know, launch him into celebrity. So it's like, frustrating. Let's see, you know, what other angles I can try. And you know, it seems like he kind of like had a sort of, again, because it's like I feel like gay men can be at like a in between situation, because it's like I think they get frustrated with the other gay men who use trans as like a sexual dating strategy, because like they know that it's like kind of full of shit, but at the same time a lot of these are their friends, you know, so they don't want to alienate those friends. So it's like they know it well enough to like call out some of the bullshit, but like they also don't want to fully like alienate the big part of their friend group. That's also what I see with like Ariel Scarcella. You know, I feel like that's why I've never had a problem. That's why people like VF555 are actually, I think, really like honorable, because she always has been a part of the LGBTQ and she has never acquiesced to the T and the Q. She's always really stood against it and been frustrated by it, even though that was her community and it would have been more like socially beneficial for her to just go along, right? I never sacrificed anything by being like, yeah, this is dumb. I've always thought it was like dumb and weird and annoying. I went along with it just because like I thought that's what we were supposed to do. But when I was like finally started to hear some gender critical views, I was like, oh, thank God, because ew, this is like weird. I never had to be like, oh wow, I see what you're saying. I'm like, oh, thank fucking God, because I've always secretly felt this way. You know, I always thought it was like awkward and weird and uncomfortable. And it's like, I you know, even though I'm like technically bisexual or whatever, and I feel like I shouldn't claim to be straight. It's like in my head, I'm a straight woman. But then like even my boyfriend is like, haven't you dated like a lot of women? And like, I'm like, yeah, I guess. And I shouldn't call myself straight, because then it gives the idea that like some straight women will have sex with women, and that's not true. But I'm like bi-het, you know, I like really only have like serious relationships with men. But it's like I never, so again, it was never part of like my like identity. Like I never like gave a shit about, you know, I was never like in like an LGBTQ club or anything like that. So I understand that's why like even like, you know, Days of Boyhood, like I don't know your whole history with all of this, and like Kai, I don't know Kai, like your whole history, but I feel like there's something like especially brave about people who are fully in this community, who have taken a very hard line against it, right? They'll take a hard line against like some of this other nonsense where it's easier and maybe socially advantageous to just kind of acquiesce to some of it. So I think that it's like, you know, it's laudable. So Seeking and Finding says, I'm also autistic. There wasn't anything about that when I was a kid. And again, it makes you feel isolated and prime target for anything that makes you feel accepted. Exactly. And the love bombing doesn't hurt. It doesn't help. The love bombing of these socially isolated people. And that's why a lot of people, even once they want to detransition, they have a hard time. Like I see like I'm Watson still is like, I know that transitioning is good for some people. And it's like, no, it's not. Even though I think that she knows that it's really awful and is like coming around. Stone the Crone, yeah, VF is based as fuck. I like yelled at her and blocked her on everything. Her and I had the most fucking weird relationship. Like we like started off like we like got in this, we were like cool for a little bit. She used to be like a big commenter, and then we had this like big rage, like awkward rage fight that was like 200 like comments long under my like one video way back when, and I was like, fuck this bitch, and I like researched her, and I was like, I'm gonna find out everything I can. I like found out all this stuff, and then we like made up, and then we like got friends. It's like, well, like people are like, oh wow, you guys hang out in real life, because we'll like rip each other's heads off online. She can drive me crazy, but so right now she's blocked, but I still respect her. I'm sure that will fix itself at some point. Anyway, Kathy Griffin. Let's see. It's like he's just trying on all these different things. Kai Decadent says, yep, it's all about desperation to belong. It's so hard when I come across younger lesbians online who buy into gender shit. It's really bad in the online art community. There's a joke out there. That is really sad too, especially lesbians. I remember I got in a fight with this one lesbian who was like, I think it was during like a in-person thing. It was like a free speech for women. And like I was really going back and forth with this one lesbian. I was like, bro, you should be so ashamed of yourself as a lesbian. I was like, because that's like 2 layers of selling out your own community. You're selling out other women and other lesbians in like the worst way. I was like, lesbian women have been hit the hardest by this. They get pushed to tune out. They get pushed to medicalize. They're getting, the whole cotton ceiling thing with the trans beings trying to push back. Like, it's like the ultimate, like the golden cow is for these trans identifying males to bag a lesbian. Then they know it's like the ultimate affirmation symbol. I know that I feel like they get raped by these guys, pushed into these, with these guys. I mean, and then, as a woman, having our boundaries pushed against. So it's like, I just feel like there's something especially heinous to be a woman or to be a lesbian woman and like support this. Anyway, all right, so here we go. We're up to 5 years ago, again, 113 views. Then he'll like randomly have like a popular video. So like this one is like 27,000 views. LGBTQ community needs to give straight America the same respect. So it seems like he kind of like, agreed with a lot of this stuff. Let's see. East Pittsburgh police kill Antoine Rose 5 years ago. Racism, homophobia, depression, sexual abuse. Permit Patty speaks out. 299. So it's like he's covering these different current events, still not really getting much attention. 600 views, 257 views, more comedy stuff that like no one really cares about. But then it's like, oh, anytime he brings up the trans stuff, it seems like he gets some views, right? Trans, no one's checking for anything. RuPaul's Drag Race, no one cares. Kevin Hart, no one cares. White feminist, no one cares. 100 views. Cardi B, blah blah blah. Like it's like almost like he wanted to have a what's the one guy, like the Perez Hilton kind of channel. Didn't really work out. How far are we? Still, Jesus fuck. 5 years ago. Let's like speed this up. Stormy Daniels. Random just talks about stuff. No one's checking for it. DMX challenge. Bad haircut. Not interesting. Let's see. Gina Rodriguez will use the N-word. Great. So again, it's still like a lot of like woke kind of topics. Like hot button topics, algorithmic type stuff. Trump and suggests injection. Michelle Obama is not to be trusted. So it seems like he's kind of like, taking the sort of anti-woke stuff. Blame it on blah, 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 blah. Why don't worry about cancel culture. So it seems like he had tapped into the sort of like neo-Republican movement. And again, that's why it's so like some of these people will have these like take on these sort of like base talking points. And I just feel like some of this stuff is a little bit regurgitated, because this is all, again, around the time when a lot of these like kind of like this like these minority viewpoints, like viewpoints that were not, started to have like cult following, because it's like it went against the sort of mainstream narrative, and it was like, oh cool, there's we can take this like anti-mainstream narrative, and it's like he's just I don't know, I don't know who he was like following at the same time, but none of this stuff seems so like revolutionary as to make me think that like he really these are ideas he just came up with on his own. It's like he's probably watching other stuff and is being inspired by it. All right, let's see. But again, but my point is too, it's like some of it is like, is actually sort of based. So it's like, okay, wow. So you hear a few sort of, and this is why it makes it so insidious, because some of these people will have actually based viewpoints and talking points. So then you kind of like turn off your critical filter a little bit and you start giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? But then they're taking this sort of like weak fence sitting like, position. And I think that it's easy to get caught up in that. Easy to get captured by that. When I first heard Blaire White, when I was first peaking, I was like, oh, cool. A trans woman who, agrees with all this stuff and knows that he's a man. And it's like, that's just how low the bar was because of how crazy everything had gotten, but it was pretty quick until I was like, after I like, really started to peak, and then I started to listen to him more, and I'm like, yeah, but he's not making any sense. It's like self-contradictory. Let's see, 423, let's see, oh God. So again, I feel like he's made, again, almost 1,000 videos, and for years and years and years, really clearly was like working hard on YouTube and really wanted his YouTube to be a thing, and it just would not take off. Every once in a while, he would get, a video that had a bunch of views, but it seemed to be like an isolated thing. Didn't really have like an actual following. Now, let's see. So now he's starting to get more towards like 1,000 views per, let's see. Who do we have? Okay. Yeah. So now he's starting to like get a little bit more consistently more views, closer to 1,000. Okay. So 10 months ago. Okay. So look, so it went from being about a year ago, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, okay, then he starts talking about, this is around the time when like Gender Critical was going like really like cult following, right? So 1 year ago, teen girl traumatized after being forced onto scale at hold on. Transgender swimmer nominated NCAA Woman of the Year, and he got 1.7 thousand views. He's still kind of picking other topics. Oh, but then he talks about theater cancels Dave Chappelle last minute after like he had all the like, he said he was a TERF. Brittany Griner, only 700. Let's see. Talking about other stuff. 1 year ago, most important, they still talking about comedian. No offense, but like let the comedian thing go. I mean, you can do what you want, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. You're not really funny. And then straight people stop pretending to be queer. That got 4.7 thousand views. All right, well, let's hear this one. Yeah, a lot of people supported Blaire White.
What's the difference between these two identical cups of coffee?
A lot.
Everything.
I think a lot of people supported Blaire White because he is like soothed a lot of people's cognitive dissonance about everything. It was like a lot of people bought into the LGBTQ stuff because of all the emotional appeals, because they can hurt themselves and unalive themselves, do all these other things. I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, we need to really rally around, and Trans Day of Remembrance, and they're really under attack. And then it's like it kind of started to go too far. But then I feel like, the whole idea of like the trans kids, these little kids who have always felt trapped in their own a wrong body. And you hear these cute little kids being like, I just really liked it when they said I was a girl, but then it hurt my feelings when they said I couldn't sit with them. And like, nobody wants to see a child left out. And you're like, oh God, like maybe this little boy really, does feel this way. It's hard for us to see children in pain, right? It's hard, and it's like we don't realize how much grooming went into kids saying all that stuff. It makes it seem like, wow, this really came from them. And it's like, so that's why we all rallied around this. And then it started to go like weird, go left and go far. And then it was like Blaire White gave us this sort of life raft where it's like, okay, now we can soothe our feelings of wanting to support trans people that we thought we were supporting at first. He's like the perfect everything, right? He's like, talks about how he was gender dysphoric since childhood, a little boy who always believed he was a girl, and he's not just a gay kid, he's more than that, he always it never felt right, and he was so depressed, and it wasn't until he was allowed to start expressing his gender identity that he just felt so happy for the first time in his own skin, but then it's like, but at the same time, he didn't try to ram it down anybody's throats, and he's a homosexual transsexual. He's not like those AGPs. And, he's able to call out the bad behavior. And it seemed like it was like the perfect compromise. Blaire White, he fits the sort of like, he picks this kind of like scaled down Kardashian look, you know what I mean? Where he has like this kind of mousy brown hair and, like minimalist makeup, even though it's really not minimalist, it's a lot, but like, you know what I mean? It's not like real porn starry, it is, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, kind of comes up like, he's like what like the conservatives like in a woman, you know what I mean? Sexualize themselves, be, skinny, big boobs, like that whole thing, you know what I mean? And he like really knows how to hold himself, speak well, all this sort of stuff. He's really practiced and trained, and it's like that's the type of trans woman we can like support. And it kind of gave all these people who just didn't know where to stand and really weren't sure, because they're being pulled in every direction, being told, oh, you're horrible if you don't support trans kids, and these people are gonna unalive themselves and hurt themselves. But then it's like you couldn't really deny when you see these RouXX articles about these AGPs, and you see all these kind of other horrible things going on about these men, jerking off in like rape crisis centers, and you see Trantifa and all the horrible stuff they were doing. And then it was like, okay, great. There's a cadre of trans people that we can actually get behind, because they're also calling out they acknowledge that they're a man, great, bars on the floor. 2, they call out all the bad actors who are ruining it for everybody. And it's like, it just seemed like the perfect place to sit on a fence. And unfortunately, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there is no compromise in this, okay? True trans is a dangerous Trojan horse. It's the next iteration of this. It is how the gender industry will survive the gender critical pushback. And that's what they're all scrambling now to co-sign, because queer no longer became useful. First, queer theory is what sort of like rammed it down all of our throats. But then it was like, they knew that eventually, again, the life will always try to keep an equilibrium. They knew eventually it was going to start to swing back, but to keep it from swinging all the way back, because they changed the goalposts, it seems like, again, the moderate position now is here. Like, okay, say, like, here's the left, here's the right, okay? And this is how it used to be, or no, right? And then in the middle, okay? And then if the left stretches out over here now, right? And it goes really far. And then it's like the centrist, the center that used to be over here has to be over here. So then it's like, okay, now people are getting mad. They want to bring it back right. And it's like, well, let's just bring it back here. And you realize if the original goal is that they just wanted to go out here, the best way to do it is stretch way far out to the left. And then when it tries to come back, you'll just end up where you really wanted to be. It's like negotiating, right? It's like when you like lowball somebody or high, like say you're selling like, you know, your old washer and dryer, right? I have a washer and dryer that I actually need to sell, right? And say like, I know that it's really only worth like $300, but I'm going to list it for like $1,000, right? Or I'm going to tell people, you know, if somebody shows interest in it, I'm going to like highball them a little bit. And then they're going to be like, well, no, you know, I wanted to pay, you know, $100. I'm like, whoa, that's too low. You know, I want this. And like, okay, here, I'll compromise. And then they say, all right, how about $500? Well, I'm actually making more money than I even was trying to get. You know what I mean? Because it seems like, well, I'm going to come there. You artificially stretch it so that you make the center seem like now it's over here when the center is still actually radically out to the left. It's just they artificially stretched it so far, right? So, yeah, true. So true. I hate to break this to everybody, is that the solution is not as easy as we had all hoped. And no, it's not like, oh, we can just support these Blaire White types and it'll make everything better. It won't. Okay. The Blaire White types are like the 0.00001, and even Blaire White is not Blaire White, right? Blaire White is doesn't even look like him. He's very filtered and choreographed, and I think a lot of the stories that he tells us about being dysphoric since where he were a little kid is not really true. I think he just really was not happy being a little gay kid, was not getting a lot of attention. He was just way too marginal. And it's like, if anybody saw, we'll go through one day, he has this like old group YouTube channel with a bunch of other gay men. They all had a channel together and they would all take turns putting videos up. And he was like by not even close to being the most popular one at the time. Not the most attractive. There were some other guys who must have been around his age or a year or two older who were a lot taller, who were definitely hotter. Like if I were a gay man, like I would have picked them over Blaire White. And then Blaire White found is like, you know, I think was just depressed. I think he's a little histrionic. I think he wants, you know, attention that he wasn't getting. I think he has a lot of problems with his family, with being gay. And I think being a woman solved, being a woman, dressing up as a woman solved a lot of those problems for him. Okay, I don't think that we can just take everything that he says at face value. I think a lot of it is a cope and a justification.
Straight people, I'm gonna need you to stop faking the funk. What's up, everybody? Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. So I wanted to talk about this because it was something that I was just reminded of not too long ago, and it's something that happens a lot in the LGBTQIA, whatever other letters they're adding this week, community. And it's really started to get on my nerves. It's the reason a lot of other LGBT people are not a fan of all the letters that they're adding, and the fact that queer is an umbrella that just covers pretty much everything. Trans used to stand for transsexual, now it stands for transgender. Transgender can be absolutely anything, and that also is ridiculous. Before we go any further, I'm just gonna ask that you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe share the video. If you want to comment and you don't know what to comment, just comment "you're not a woman." That'll let me know that you are paying attention. If you just comment, "you're not a woman." Thank you so much. Now let's get on with the video. And so I think that with a lot of these lines being blurred, it's leaving a lot of room for people that otherwise don't have an identity to hide behind to all of a sudden identify as LGBT. And it's like, I'm queer. You can't question that. And it's like, what exactly is your thing? Because you being a straight person that just happens to maybe once in a while do something a little adventurous, to me doesn't make you a part of my community. I am a gay man. I have been known to identify as a transgender woman. I have no problem fully acknowledging, though, that is mainly a troll. But also, there is a history there where I'll explain at some point, like, part of that. But it's not something that I argue with people, like, as a trans person. I'm gonna tell you this. I am a gay man. I am part of the community, whether the community likes it or not, whether the community agrees with my point of view on.
Okay, so he's not wrong that queers are spicy straights. But again, it's like he takes his ire, which, again, he rather than chopping it off at the TQ, so rather than realizing that the LGB are letters that deal in sexuality and adult human sexuality and things like that, and that the T and the Q are about like identity politics and stuff. He's cutting it at the Q. He's including the T, the true trans, and then the Q is like, that's the problem, and it's like he doesn't want to acknowledge that the T is just as nonsensical as the Q, because the T is more tied into homosexuals and things like that, and it's like, so again, they get mad at like the issue for a lot of these guys, these true trans guys, is that they don't like the sort of heterosexual infiltration. So that's why they hate the AGPs, the autogynephiles, because that's heterosexual infiltration of like the trans community. And then the queers, which are like the spicy straights, right? It's like that's the infiltration of the straights in, like I had a friend who I love. Oh, it's such a shame. I have this one girlfriend that I grew up with that I have like such a soft spot for, and I remember like almost like as I was developing this channel, like she was really coming out as queer, and I remember she's the only person that I used to hide my posts from, because it's like we used to play soccer together, have sleepovers as a kid, and she like moved out to like LA and started doing like film and came out as queer and all this really cringe stuff, and it sucks because like I love her, and I understand that she like wasn't super popular growing up, and I really believe she's just looking for a community, and I feel like she felt like she never fit in, and so I felt like she identified with the struggle of like LGBT people, you know what I mean? Even though she's straight, she's married to a man, so she's straight, she's married to a man who also identifies as non-binary, so like a non-binary couple, or I think he identifies as a woman or something, and so they're like a lesbian, and that's her in, and it's like, it sucks because it's like, like I love her, but like I don't co-sign anything that she's doing, and it's like sometimes I like don't feel the need to pick personal fights with people like in my life. I just avoid it with them. But that's the real issue here. He's mad at heterosexuals infiltrating the community and like watering it down. Well, do you think that this is the same thing that we as women feel when your other gay men try to pretend to be one of us? Like I remember I've always had like gay friends, but I used to really struggle with like the really catty, hyper flamboyant ones that would be like, girl, and like just do too much. And I'm like, we don't act like that. I used to always feel like so like embarrassed, because I'm like, I feel like you're trying too hard to act like super girly, and you're using all these stereotypes that I don't identify with. And I feel weird now, and I don't act like that, and I don't want to act like that, and I don't really want to be around people who act like that or like treat me like that. And be like, yes, girl, yes, bitch, let's go now. And I'm like, okay, bro, but then it's like I had another friend who was this gay kid that we grew up with, who like came out later. It was like one of our close friends. He went to like MIT for like molecular biology and stuff, and it's like super brilliant guy, and it's like I fucking adore him, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, he's so not annoying about it.
On everything, it is what it is. I am a gay man, that is undeniable. So I had posted this joke on my Instagram. Trans people are always getting mad at things, and if we have any trans people in the audience, don't get me wrong, you're definitely welcome anywhere I'm at. I love trans people, but do me a favor and shut the up. Nobody cares. Be a man, be a woman, be quiet. That's what I need from the trans community. I need you to understand that sometimes it's a you problem.
Again, I think, it's like a lot of these guys, his big problem is probably just the amount of attention that these people are commanding when he wants the attention. You can tell that he comes off as histrionic. He was like desperate to start a YouTube channel and have it go off. He's probably seeing a bunch of other like people who tuned out and are getting all this other attention. And he just like, again, being gay is not as interesting anymore. Where that used to be the ticket to getting all the attention. Oh, he's gay. That got boring. That's old hat. No, the new interesting thing is being trans. And we even see that on the way out. And now the new cool thing is being a gender critical trans. And it's like, now that's the new popular thing. And it's like, you know, and all the earlier people get mad, right? So it's all the, like, you know, blossoms of the world, the queer theory guys who are all mad because they used to get all the attention. Now Blaire White's getting all the attention. Everyone just wants the attention. They're all fighting and bickering and squabbling for attention. You know, that's the big thing.
Problem, not a nice problem. Like, if you go to the mall, you're supposed to be a woman, they accidentally call you sir, maybe you're not doing a good job at it. A lot of people liked it. I didn't get a lot of negative feedback on it because a lot of people have started to understand that as LGBT people, we need to once in a while have a sense of humor about ourselves. It's as simple as that. But one of the people that hit me up, she's a woman by the name of Ivy. She, as far as I knew before this situation, just identified as a woman. And all of a sudden she jumps in the comments. The gist of what she was saying was, as a trans person, it's really hard for us to whatever, and I was just like, you're not a trans person. Why are you talking to me like it's your lived experience when that's not what you are right now?
Yeah. So again, you know, he's the reason why he doesn't get a bunch of pushback is because he leaves the door open. They can just make fun of the like lame trans, you know, but it's like it still leaves the door open that no, the real trans are still real, that you don't, and everybody can like feel assured that like, oh, I'm not a part of that because I am doing a good job because of how delusional they get. But let's hear this, the unhinged.
If you notice, there are less talented people.
So I'm switching back to the original thing. So again, he had for 15 years he had a channel. No one was checking for it. And it's not until a year ago he gets on this topic and his channel finally starts getting some traction. So again, it's a lie when he said this.
Entertainment for coins and views and for likes.
If I were doing this for likes, I would get more likes and I would be more popular, especially in the mainstream. If I agreed with all of the things that you're saying, that would be more lucrative to me. Technically, taking the stance that I've taken has not helped my career. It's hindered my career. If you notice, there are less talented people, and yes, I am very talented at what I do. I am the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. For a reason. You talk to people in my industry, they'll tell you, I really am that good at what I do. It's not just me tooting my own horn. But I would be further along if I would just say the things people want me to say. But that's not where my heart is. That's not going to help the people I know out. So I ain't doing it, Mary. Sorry to...
Well, that's so funny that you say the random zoom in's part of his video. No, that's part of his video. Like, it's like that's part of like the shtick. I guess it makes it more interesting if we like randomly zoom in at random intervals for reasons I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I am losing business because no, you're not. No, you're not. No one was checking for you until you started going gender critical true trans. Knock it off, like Mr. Rivera.
Burst your little non-binary bubble. If you want to know why I talk about trans people so much, it's because some of my best friends have been, and always will be trans. And I'm tired of seeing people like this person, an activist in the
2S LGBTQPIA+
community, make it seem like these people that I've been friends with for so long are trying to do something that they're not trying to do and trying to say something that they're not trying to say. Binary,
No, you know what the problem is
that
it's all the cringe trans people are like saying the quiet part out loud, right? They're not good at like kind of like manipulating people, right? And it's like they get mad because like, stop it, just stop it, you know? It's like stuff that you're not supposed to say, not supposed to act so that people won't be on your trail. And the fact he's getting mad because he says that these people are appropriating transness, which is why it makes no sense, right? He's mad at the Q for appropriating the T. And it's like, there is no difference. There's no difference in some like lame woman who gets a short, you know, haircut and wears like a backwards ball cap, you know, and wears some sneaks and calls herself a gay man, then, you know, Blaire White, who spends a lot of money on grooming himself and pretending to be a woman, there's no difference. They're both playing dress up. They're both lying. They're both as equally as trans as the other. They're both as legitimate in their identity as the other, which is none at all, right? Neither of them have any legitimacy whatsoever. Okay? This is why I get so mad at people like Blaire White who like rag against self-ID. I'm like, you're self-ID. What are you talking about? You are self-ID. You're all self-ID. You're just like, I decided I want to do this. And you know, because I'm more socially adept and maybe more attractive, people are letting me do it. And so I'm legit. It's all self-ID. All of it. All of it.
Most transsexual people would tell them person to person if they had a chance, you are not trans. Our struggles are different. So
How are they different? Sir, hey, Rivera, if you end up watching this or discovering this or someone shows it, you guys show this to him. Rivera, if you want to talk about it, we can argue this. I'll debate you. You wanna hop on my channel? I'll hop on yours. We can go on a third channel. I don't care. Okay? You don't agree with me? Let's talk about it. Because none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. What are the struggles? What's the difference? What's the different struggles? It's all the same. It's all nonsensical. You don't make sense, sir, at all.
Let her go on now.
It is for entertainment. They don't care about us. They don't stand with us. They don't fight with us. I am trans.
You say in another video,
My sex, I was assigned at birth, is female.
looking at you, you're living as a female, but
My gender.
Blaire White is living as a male. Let me make that clear. Blaire White is living as a male. Blaire White has never lived as a woman. I hate when they say that the way that you can transition is you have to first live as a woman for 2 years. What the fuck does that mean? How can a man live as a woman? Because he grew his hair out and is wearing some spiked heels and no, and stuffing his bra with some silicone? That's not living as a woman. How dare you? How fucking dare you? Why? Because he's gay and he's hooking up with other men and plus, no. No. Blaire White has only ever lived as a man. This woman has only ever lived as a woman. Every trans-identified male has only ever lived as a woman. I don't care if they've had the snip and flip. I don't care if they've had the breast implants. Whatever. If you got... Yes. Oh my God, Karen. Please do. Karen, you can moderate. I don't think anybody in their right mind, though, Karen, would like... I don't think anyone in their right mind would like co-sign you moderating, but I would love it. Or we could have like 2 moderators. I can have like a turf moderator and then he can have like one of his homies moderating, and then the 2 refs can like duke it out. You guys can be like the referees, you know, and you guys can also duke out like whatever like the call is, you know what I mean? Like that'll be like our personal advocate. Or we could do like a 2-on-2. Maybe we can get me and Karen Davis versus like any 2 of them. So Ty Rivera, if you're down for that, you want to grab a friend, I have my friend Karen here. Don't be scared of Karen. She's just a little school teacher. You know, she's a little school teacher and, you know, rock and roll lady. She's not scary. Nothing to be worried about with that one. Yeah, so if you want to hang out with me and my friend Karen, you can grab a friend and we'll party. I'm down.
Is non-binary. It's different than my sex.
and
That makes me trans.
so I'm supposed to think you're the same as my friends that are trans women, sometimes literally putting their lives in danger to outwardly express who it is they are on the inside. Every time they meet a guy that's attracted to them, that could turn into a dangerous situation. Sometimes, and it's changed a lot now, but back in the 90s, there would be...
I know, I was saying that Jubilee, if you're listening, you need to do like a turf versus like true trans group. You know, either like a turf versus true trans or turf versus somebody else. But yeah, like me, Karen Davis, like Kelly J. Keene, Jennifer Thomas, like VF555, like that would be the squad. I would... Jubilee, can we pitch them a show? Can you guys spam Jubilee and tell them that they need to get a turf squad on and like tell them that like we all need to be on it? because that definitely needs to happen. And I want in, and I want Karen in. Oh, we need like Vanessa Vokey, like me, Karen, Vanessa Vokey, Posey Parker, Jennifer Thomas, and like Via 555 as like, you know, she can like represent like the lesbian crowd, or like we need like, or like a detransitioner as like Carol or something. That would be pretty legit.
Times when we'd end up in dangerous situations where we were just trying to do things like go to Walmart. One day it was at a tanning salon. I brought one of my friends with me to a tanning salon, one of my best friends, and they started talking about her in a negative way. Everywhere we went could turn into a dangerous situation, and it wasn't uncommon, and nobody had our backs. So to make it sound like I haven't been part of this fight, or I'm just doing this for likes, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and maybe you should learn who you're talking to. And for the people that are going to say you just had trans friends so that you can tokenize them, I've been hanging out with trans friends for the last 30 years. Trans has been popular in the mainstream for maybe the last 10 years. So did you
because, my love, it is a homosexual male dating strategy. You're a gay man who hangs out with other gay men. Of course you're friends with men who utilize trans as a dating strategy. It's like bound to happen. Okay, of course. We don't doubt that for a second, sir. The thing that you don't understand is that there's actually no difference between you and those other men, except for that they're using deceptive tactics, and they're going after gynoandromorphophiles, and they're really, really trying to get, they might have more internalized homophobia, and they might, you know, be trying to get men who would be embarrassed to be seen with a man, but who are like low-key bisexual, right? It's just a different dating strategy for getting maybe different types of men.
think that I was preemptively holding on to these bitches, hoping one day that I would be able to tokenize my friendship with them? So 20 years later, my ship finally comes in, and instead of taking advantage of it and saying all the things that I'm supposed to say, instead that's when I decide to fumble it. And I'll also have you know that all of the trans friends I had before are still my friends now, and none of them think the things that I say, and yes, they do watch my social media. Once in a while they'll comment. None of them think there's anything wrong with the things I'm saying. I never get hit up by them with them telling me that I'm transphobic or I'm saying something that's out of line. Actually, I'll bring up stories and they're like, yeah, I remember when that happened. Or really, they tease me because they like to call me a woman too. It's true. They're the worst. Let her go on.
That's because to them being a woman means nothing. It means nothing. It's just being catty and stereotypical. It has no real meaning. Of course they're calling you a woman, right? I want to watch his takes really quick on the Jubilee, which makes super no sense. Like, it's just me. I'm sorry, so do not ever in your life tell me this guy's on our side. He agrees with you. No, fuck, he does not, bro. No, he's a gender ideologue. These true trans people, Blaire White, Ty Rivera, Buck Angel, all of them are gender ideologues. I actually think that Buck Angel is eventually, I think the only thing that's keeping her from fully peaking is the fact that I think she's a drug addict, and I think she's just an addict in general, and I think she's addicted to this lifestyle. I think that if Buck Angel were to get some intensive inpatient therapy, and I mean log off, go away for like 6 months, and I mean like go to a different country, do some inpatient, really intensive, immersive therapy, equine therapy, I always bring that up, but like equine therapy, like go swim in the ocean, do a lot of like Reiki, I mean like in a place where there's almost like no technology, like no running water, where you have to go and like really get down to basics and strip down all of her ego and be around like, you know, really other healthy people and like cook her own food, do all that stuff, and get a lot of in-depth like therapy and counseling and addiction specific therapy, and get sponsors and get in with a 12-step program, stick with it. I think that she could actually like do some real healing. I don't think that she should ever be an influencer again on this topic. I think that she could talk. I think that at the most she should be talking about retrospectives of her own journey in becoming gender critical, right? And then maybe also, I think she's doing a good job giving other people a platform. But I think she needs to stay away from this whole thing of dunking on, like taking the whole that easy route of taking these TikTok clips. We need to do another thing on her. Hers makes no sense. Like, she'll sit there and make fun of these other like trans and queer creators for things that she literally is still doing herself every single day, and it makes no sense. But at the end of the day, Buck is a woman. Buck has been harmed by a lot of stuff. Buck is absolutely guilty of a lot of stuff, and I think she has a lot of amends to make. And I think that she's still hurting deep down somewhere. And I actually just don't think she's unreachable. You know, I think that she really, she needs a lot of help. And I think that it's really sad. We're watching that it's like this almost public rape of this woman, right? Just watching this woman do these horrible things to herself, degrade herself, humiliate herself, self-harm, and we're all cheering it on and we're throwing money at it. You know, and it's manifests into her encouraging other people in the same way. And I think everybody is guilty. The same way that everybody is guilty for pushing TLC, I think should be court-martialed. Like, TLC should actually face criminal liability for what they did to Jazz Jennings and that family. A big reason why they never got off that boat and why they went as far as they did, I believe, is because of all of the pressure from the TLC, because of the money that was coming in, the opportunities that were coming in. Jazz Jennings got a chance to go to Harvard. I mean, these once-in-a-lifetime opportunities for like not only fame but money. Sander, the like lame brother who really had nothing going for him, now has a career. The mother is getting the attention that she clearly always wanted. I mean, I think it did so much for their family that it was so impossible for these people to really like. And I think the fact is they knew that this mother was Munchausen by proxying her son, the Transhausen by proxy. She was pushing this onto her son. They aggravated it, and we saw how desperate Jazz Jennings was to please. All he wanted to do was please his family. And it's like he was doing it for everybody else. He was sacrificing everybody else so that his family could be set up for life. I think the TLC putting cameras in that little boy's face, setting him up with a predator like Marcy Bauer, and sitting there like encouraging the mother while we're literally watching a drawn out snuff film of this little boy. I think they all need to be held criminally liable. I think that TLC should go bankrupt, and I think that everybody, the producers of that show, should be in prison for a long time. Because I don't think that there's a chance that this family would never have gone this far in doing what they did. And I think that they've inspired so many children to do the same like harm to themselves, and so many families to go forward with this harm, knowing what was happening. At any point they could have pulled the plug and be like, you know what, we're no longer going to show this. This is going off the rails. This was an experiment that is going horribly wrong and we need to stop. And they never did that. They kept going and going and going. They're responsible for I think it's like an attempt. I see it as like an attempted murder. If this child ever dies of any complications of any of the trans medicalization, I think that TLC, the mom, the father, the mom, or the dad, I don't know, I feel like tried to push back a lot, but the mom, but especially TLC and especially Marcy Bauer should be charged for murder. I really do. You know, it's the same way that if you shoot somebody or say you hurt somebody or you attack somebody and say that they survived the attack but they're in the hospital and they're in critical condition, if they eventually die, even if it's like months later of those injuries and they're able to determine that it is caused by the injuries that you caused, they'll upgrade your charges to murder. I think that if Jazz Jennings ever dies a premature death and they're able to determine that it is related to the transition, I think that they all need to be held liable for murder. But let's take a look how nonsensical, how nonsensical this is. Yeah, they had a celebration after
Let's be real. Life can get tough.
They had a celebration party after getting this child's penis cut off. It is evil and scary and something very, very sick and sinister that was going on with that family and that whole situation.
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars?
No.
Wasting tons of time on troubleshooting with attendees? If so,
hush up.
I can understand like how some women may feel unsafe with men in the restroom. Men, when I say men, I mean men.
And this is exactly the problem with trans in the bathrooms, is a person like this who wants to take over the conversation for some reason, when really they shouldn't even be a part of the conversation. The topic is...
It is a safety concern for trans women to share a female restroom.
So you're not even a trans woman. You're trans non-binary. You're a man that has made some fashion choices.
Well, Boo, to be clear, like, it was funny because somebody had made these stickers that they were passing out at our last Let Women Speak that says, free Jazz Jennings. Like, basically, like, saying, like, oh, protect, like, get Jazz Jennings. At this point, he's an adult. Okay, we've seen a lot of detransitioners who have done a lot to themselves, who were groomed, who were abused, who are in so many ways victims of so much part of this, and are still stepping up and taking accountability for their part in it and their part in promoting it. You know, he still makes money off of promoting this to other children and families. He's now an adult. There are enough gender critical voices out there to kind of give him permission to speak up. There are enough detransitioners who are going public, who are speaking, to the Senate, who are speaking to legislators. He has enough agency that he's no longer a victim in continuing to do so. He was a victim as a child. But it's the abuse to abuser pipeline. He is now an abuser. Okay, so my empathy for him kind of ran out once he became an adult and is continuing to profit off of selling this to other children. That's when my sympathy for Jazz Jennings ran out. But I am still sympathetic to the child version of him that happened before, that no longer exists, but to the part of it where he was abused, right? But no, he now has a lot of culpability, and he has a lot of amends to make, and he has a big hand in harming other children now, knowing how bad this is, knowing how much this has hurt him. It's like, how dare you push this on other children, knowing what you've lost as a human being. He will never, Jazz Jennings has never and will never experience an orgasm, or unless he experienced, had an orgasm as a child at one point where he was like hitting puberty. But no, they blocked his puberty prior to Tanner Stage 2. Marcy Bauer, the trans-identified male who's the lead surgeon in the Jazz Jennings case, acknowledged that puberty blockers followed by cross-sex hormones prior to Tanner Stage 2, in his estimate, means that you will never experience an orgasm. He doesn't believe that we've ever had a scenario in which somebody took puberty blockers followed by cross-sex hormones prior to Tanner Stage 2. And again, the Tanner measurement is the measurement of puberty, like what stage of puberty you are in, right? Puberty comes in these stages. There's Tanner Stage 1 up to 5 or 4 or something, and it starts with depending on how much you've completed puberty, it's a tiered process or whatever. And prior to Tanner Stage 2, said that no, they will never ever, not only are they sterilized, but they are incapable of ever experiencing an orgasm ever. What can that do to the psychology, to the psyche of somebody? Again, sex and pleasure and intimacy and physical intimacy is such a critical part of the adult experience. Again, sex is how we build families. It's how we connect with our husbands. It's how we connect with our wives. It's how we connect with our own bodies and ourselves, and to rob that very critical adult experience from somebody forever, no going back, it is a deep and profound cruelty.
That's what you are. Let's call a spade a spade. You have no dog in the fight. You're neither a biological female or a trans woman. The trans men shouldn't even really be chiming in on
A female.
So TXLALA, that jazz person undoubtedly has unpacked all the harm done to him. He is still a victim. He didn't miraculously overcome all that just because he turned 18. So my question to you, right? So if because now that, you know, just because that was pushed onto him, and so now that he's pushing that on to other children, right? So say somebody who was like molested, you know, a boy who was molested a lot and harmed. We know that kids who are, okay, so for example, we know that kids who are abused by their parents physically are a lot more likely to unfortunately become abusers. And unfortunately, same thing with sexual abuse. There's a high correlation. So do you mean to tell me that if a man who was abused as a little boy sexually and then begins sexually abusing other men or children or women, you know, as again, because of, you know, his past of abuse, does that mean that he's not culpable? Does that make sense? Does it make sense that maybe because, you know, a little girl was beaten, you know, throughout her childhood, and then she grows up to torture her children? Because there is a correlation between that. And I know that it's a very sad thing. It's really sad to see. And that's why we have to protect, another big reason, protect children from abuse. Not only that they deserve to be safe, but it can become cyclical. So she turns around and starves her child to death, or hands her child over to be sexually abused by her, you know, boyfriend because she was abused, or maybe she was abused and that's why she got on drugs. And, you know, maybe she was forced onto drugs and then she started dealing drugs to other people and somebody died. Is she just a victim? She's not responsible for her role? No. He went to Harvard. He knows what happened to himself. So much of it, he won't speak up because he doesn't want to hurt his family's ability to keep making money. And to be clear, he is still making money off of this himself. He knows he'll lose his whole career. Okay, there is a huge financial incentive for him to continue this. So to absolve him of his responsibility in continuing to promote danger to children, knowing firsthand how terrible it is. No, I'm sorry. There are plenty of detransitioners who have shown us that they can step up, that they can, you know, that they have been victims, and to say, I won't continue to victimize other people. I won't continue to promote this to other people. I don't want to happen to other people what happened to me. Richard Anumene, I always say his name wrong, who just spoke at the Senate, same thing. He says, I do not want, who had his penis inverted, basically was castrated, said, I do not want this to happen to any other person. Okay, and he's schizophrenic, he was homeless, he was victimized and taken advantage of in every way possible. Okay. Now, had he gotten a big career off being trans, the same thing with like Samantha Lux. Okay? If he had gotten a big career off being trans, and if he were, you know, selfish enough, he might be like, well, I you know what, I've suffered enough. I want to be able to at least make the money that I should be making, and I'm just not going to say anything. So many of these trans influencers who end up going all the way and getting all this stuff realize later what a bad mistake it is, but they don't want to talk about it because they're like, they don't want to compromise their bread and butter. So I'm sorry, but I have to disagree with you there.
So you're not even a trans woman. You're trans non-binary. You're a man that has made some fashion choices. That's what you are. Let's call a spade a spade. You have no dog in the fight. You're neither a biological female or a trans woman. The trans men shouldn't even really be chiming in on this one because we're talking about women. For this particular topic, we can say women is an umbrella that will cover trans women as well as biological women. But we're talking about women and female. You are neither a woman nor a female. You are transgender only by the most loose definition of what trans actually is. So really, you should keep your mouth shut.
Being a non-binary.
And just real, we can argue this at another time. Maybe we'll make this like a big topic where everybody can call in and give their arguments about the Jazz Jennings things. Again, I empathize with the part in which he really is a victim and has been victimized to this. He continues to make money off of his book, off of talking, off of all the other things. And I'm sorry, but Paolo, like saying that he doesn't realize that he's a victim yet. Have you watched the full series? Because I've watched a lot of it. Of course he does. He's constantly crying, talking about how he's in pain, talking about, you can tell how much of a people pleaser he is, and he just wants to please his family. But no, I mean, he keeps saying that, like, you know, all these bad things that are going on. He's, you know, had time away from his family to actually, like, process this. No, I'm sorry, for as long as he can, knowing all the complications that he's faced, all the harm that it's done to his body, he knows. We watched it all. We watched him going through and crying about how it's all hurting and it's horrible and it's not what he thought it was going to be and all this stuff, but he's still selling it to other children. So if he's not culpable, then nobody is. Then nobody who went through this is, right? I guess they're all just too mentally ill. Because everybody was groomed in some form or another, whether it was they were groomed online, whether it was groomed by the love bombing of the trans community, whether it was groomed by, you know, whatever the case may be, whether it was, you know, the homophobia that they faced, you know, everybody has some level of victimization, whether it was they were autistic, you know. So if he's not culpable, then nobody is, okay? Just because we have a more intimate look at how he was victimized doesn't mean that he's, you know, this, like, now, again, all of that happened to him and was done to him was not his fault. Not his fault. While he was a child, not his fault. He was absolutely a victim. Still, all of that part is him being a victim. Him continuing as an adult to push and promote it and profit off of it, no, that's where the culpability lies. That's where my sympathy ends. It is still with Jazz Jennings, the child, and what happened to him. But the Jazz Jennings, the adult who is still profiting off of this, who is refusing to speak up, no.
Binary person that sometimes has the choice of either going to a men's restroom looking like this.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Now, Blaire is giving big,
She doesn't even go here.
energy. And that's completely what she should be doing.
Looking like
No one
this.
can
You can
tell.
look at me.
Well, that's the problem, is not everybody wants to look
Everybody
at you.
said-
Sometimes we get tired of people like you making the LGBT community.
Do you guys want Fluff to come on the channel? Should I make him? Everybody says they want you to come on. Fluff! My boyfriend just got home from work. Well, you guys should spam the comments and say that he should come on. And I can make him come on. I keep telling him I want him to come on, but he won't do it. You guys have to hound him for me. He doesn't do social media, so it's not like I can tell you to go like spam his comments. Otherwise, I would tell you guys just be like relentless. But we'll get him on here eventually.
Well, because this is not a debate about who is really trans and who is not.
Of course it's not a debate about who is really trans and who is really not. Because if it were, you'd be in the really not category. So you don't want it to be that 100%. And that's why you're reminding everybody that that's not what it's about. Because really, you shouldn't even be there. The only reason that you're there is because you want to be on TV.
We're talking about restrooms. As a trans, non-binary person, when I go into a place that only has men's and women's restrooms and I'm dressed like this, My choice to go into the men's restroom at that point puts me in danger.
That's exactly right. Your choice to go into the men's bathroom. Actual females have no choice but to go into the women's bathroom because that's where they're actually going to be the most safe. So if you want to play dress up and pretend to be brave, then actually be brave in moments like this when your bravery will matter.
Why are you only applying this to condom on the head guy? How does this not also apply to Blaire? And I guess people were correcting me because before I was saying like, oh, Blaire is this like little tiny twink, and they're like, people are like, no, he's actually really tall, and like, so if he's tall and he's like, whatever, either way, women are not protective custody for vulnerable men. And also, I don't think they're as vulnerable as everybody's saying. I'm sorry, I don't. And it's like, if you're that vulnerable, you don't continually choose to do things that are going to put you in harm's way. Then how about, like, I don't know, take the breast implants out. Start there. That's not hard. No. But you like the benefits too much. So everybody has to accommodate you because you like the benefits too much. No, if it's that dangerous and horrible and fearsome, then stop wearing the little short skirts in the middle. You know what I mean? Stop doing all like the little things. Just don't do it. Either way, we're not protective custody. And I'm sorry, I said it before, I'll say it again. Men do not have the same consequences and the same, fallout from sexual assault and other male violence as women do. Okay, we have other consequences. STDs affect us in much more severe ways. Okay? Pregnancy can change our lives. Even if we have an abortion that results in the death of, a child that we were growing in our body. Okay? The psychological harm in that, something that we never asked for or wanted. Or if we keep that child, it changes our lives forever. It changes the structure of our family forever. It changes the structure of that community forever. Puts in motion, people's lives who are affected, many more. So many other things. Again, women also psychologically experience sex in different ways. There's so many. Either way, we are not protective custody for mentally ill men. So how can you sit there and apply this to the condom guy? He's just as equally ridiculous and just as equally a man as Blaire. Blaire is belongs in the criticism that you have for condom guy. Why? Just because you think he like passes? It doesn't make a difference, sir. And I'm sure Blaire White, if you really were to talk to Blaire White in person, I think that we would start to see so much more of the uncanny valley of how he really is actually male. It's like, it's one thing when you just have like a static image of somebody, or you catch these very curated, filtered clips of them and they're performing and stuff. But like the mask starts to slip when you're really in front of somebody and you can really like experience them and see them in 3-dimension and 4-dimension, in time, in space, right? So it's like, man.
6 years ago, when I've transitioned almost 8 years ago, but 6 years ago, it was never an issue for me to use the women's room. I felt uncomfortable back then. I don't pass. I know I don't pass, so that's a me problem. And I'm not going to turn my fear of being attacked in the men's room into a woman's problem. It's still a me problem. So.
Okay. So I don't agree with this guy in general and what he's doing and playing dress up, but like he's actually probably the most like sympathetic person here, right? Like he like 100% is like, I don't know how much of that is true or whatever, but like Blaire's thing being like, oh, I passed enough that I'm allowed to go in and all this sort of stuff, and it's like, it takes I think a lot of like, like humility to be like, I don't pass and I'm not bothering other people. And apparently he like never even originally wanted to go in the women's room. It was like other women who were like trying to be allies. So like, yeah, girl, come on with us. You're one of us. And he was like, oh, I don't think I should. And they're like, no, come on, And like, and then eventually he was like, no, it was just too weird because I just knew that I didn't belong in there. So like, I sympathize with that way more than anybody else here.
I need to work on myself. And
no, this person I actually feel bad for. She is a trans woman that is on the conservative side in this particular panel, and she actually says,
6 years ago, I used to use women's room. Now I don't, because women have spoke out. They've come out and said, we're not comfortable with it.
I feel bad for her because I do feel like if it weren't for the bad actors that are pretending to be trans, she would be able to do things the way that she needs to, the way that she would like to. And she even talks about how back in the day, women used to always tell her,
girl, you need to be in our bathroom. And I was like,
what do you mean the way that he, first of all, he needs to? He, Ty, it's a man. You're a man. You're a gay man. Who the fuck do you think you are? That you've given yourself the right to give away our language. That would be like, from now on, I'm going to start calling every trans-identified female an actual gay man. And be like, yeah, go to all the gay bathhouses and sexually harass the gay men in there. Grab on them, be like, yeah, I'm a dude. That's literally what it's like. You get mad that heterosexual people are so-called appropriating, homosexuality and all this sort of stuff, but you're giving away my language? Go fuck yourself, sir. Go fuck yourself. I don't know why you feel entitled to do that. I don't know who the fuck you think you are. And again, I think it comes down to, I'm sorry, but a lot of gay men have kind of because they blur the lines of oh, well, they're not really they get treated as if they're not really full men. They're their own little subset, and they're more like women and stuff like that, that they get to kind of have special privileges to speak for us or something. It's bro, nah. No, sir. I don't know why you feel entitled to give away our language. We are telling you that no. Okay, no. And just because there's some women who say it's fine, I'm sorry, it needs to be consensus. Unless you have 100% of women who are saying, yeah, sure, cool, go for it. Some women say no, then all women say no. And you, sir, need to go fuck yourself, okay?
And I think that them not pointing out that she is really the kind of person that suffers the consequences when it comes to the trans side, I think that's something that they all missed, that they should have addressed. And I'm not coming down on anybody, but I am saying that I think that's a huge thing they missed, is because it's trans women like her that suffer these consequences. And
yeah, and Kai, it's Kai Decadent says that's why they won't feature women in this discussion, because they don't want to hear no. Also, why are all the women, the trans-identified males that they invited onto this thing, they're all these little, somebody said that the one trans-identified female, the one in the red shirt and the glasses, was yeah, did she just go up to the doctor and be like, I'll take the Bill Gates look, please? I'll look like Microsoft. It's yeah, what the fuck was she going for? And it's all the women are these little meeky, squeaky, they're can I speak? And everybody's just the men are it's all a bunch of gay men who are just squabbling and yelling at each other and going back and forth, and the women are on the side and hey, I had something I wanted to say, and it's business as usual. Business as usual. Doesn't matter how you identify. Everybody falls back into their natural place where women are getting trampled over verbally. No one's fucking listening to anything they have to say. No one cares. And it's everybody's oh, there's not enough visibility of trans men. Yeah, bro, because they're women. It's the same thing as always. No one gives a shit when they're women. No one gives a shit when they're women pretending to be men. They're still just fucking women. And it's their opinion is still fucking not important. You know what I mean? And it's yeah, it's one hell of a fucking kick in the nuts, so to speak, or kick in the vulva when you do all this ridiculous shit to yourself. Cut your vagina out, cut your tits off, take all the, you get the beard, all of it, and guess what? Society still steamrolls you and treats you like a woman. Sucks, doesn't it? Bro, you cannot identify out of misogyny. Sorry.
I feel that she's sincere, and I also really respect her for saying
there's too many self-ID'd people out there just taking advantage, and I choose to use the men's room to protect them.
I'll go to the men's bathroom.
Cool. You know what? Yeah, thanks for listening, sir. It's a real low bar at this point, but, I'll give you a thumbs up on that. And it's Blaire White the so-called hero of gender critical, he doesn't even listen to women like that. He doesn't even care. You know, Blaire White's going to do Blaire White, because at the end of the day, Blaire White can afford to take a true scum trans medicalist point of view, because he's already done all the shit that he needs to do to kind of fit that criteria. All of his criticisms and standards that he's imposing on other trans identifying people don't apply to him, because he, it's like he fashions this idea of true trans to make sure that he fits squarely inside of that, and there's no way. Well, you don't have to get your penis turned inside out, because I knew that I didn't want to do that, because I saw how horrible it was for people. Okay, but you can sit there and dunk on people. Guess what? And you know what the funniest part is? You dunk on Jessica Yaniv for not really being trans, but guess what? Jessica Yaniv chopped his dick off, and you didn't even do that. So technically, Blaire, Jessica Yaniv is more trans than you are. Isn't that embarrassing?
Because I don't want to make women uncomfortable.
The idea that passability is you need to work on your transition. A lot of folks, especially in our community, have no access to finances, resources, jobs, to even get their foot in the door, to get access to hormones. So you're putting all of these barriers just for them to be able to go to the restroom, which is a natural thing that we all have to do. So what do I need to do? Piss outside?
Yeah, if you're a dude in a dress that's pretending to be something that you're not, you deal with that on your own. Don't try to make that seem like that's everybody else's problems and your rights are being violated.
The problem is, they're
our
just
community
little words
has
on the
really
screen.
eroded any barriers to actually being trans, in the sense of your average cross-dresser can identify as a trans woman.
But then it's not a trans woman.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. I feel that way as well. I agree with you wholeheartedly. However, with the state of the political correctness within the trans community, you can't really say that.
And that's exactly true. Even though they try to debate it.
Fluff is standing at the door. Fluff is standing at the door, and I'm trying to convince him to come in. So we're getting closer. Fluff! Everybody has to tell him that they want him to come on and say hi. Oh, it's low? Is it hard to hear? Oh, the bar is low. Yeah. Again, so it's like, sorry, Ty. Like, your logic didn't make any sense, sir.
And they try to make it seem like Blaire is just pulling this out of thin air. It is true that there is no barrier to being trans anymore. A person just says that they're trans, and then everybody's supposed to respect it and treat them like whatever it is that's going on in their head. And the rest of the world isn't going for it. Mainstream society isn't going for it. You can't force people to do something that they're just not going to do.
I actually do agree with you.
Fluff, Paulo says, Fluff, get in here. See? Haha, there's one.
Blaire, 100%, because that's one of those things. Yo, I told you, I really like that. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes when we self-identify, some people can take advantage of that, and that is something, unfortunately, that we cannot control. But we have to combat it with facts, with research.
Facts and research. Okay, well, facts are male is male and female is female. So anybody can be anything that they want in their head. But why don't you try going to the bathroom that actually coincides with what you were born? Because
what? Okay, so that it should just end there. It should just end there. How can you say that you speak out of both sides of your mouth, sir? How the hell can you actually say that and then sit there and defend Blaire Robert White, good old Bobby White's right to just trample on women? Again, he has his dick. Does he sit down to pee? I guess probably. It's like, regardless, and I've said it before, if I had to change my daughter's diaper when she was a baby on the changing table out in the middle, and you're a fucking man standing there watching me as I undress her, take her diaper down, and have to wipe her bottom, and her vulva is visible, you're a fucking scumbag. You're a scumbag. I don't care if you were stealth and no one knew you were in there. You're a piece of shit for doing that. For real. Okay? It's also little girls in their privacy. Little boys in their privacy. Okay? You don't get to pick and choose. It's not about women don't always say something to me and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, no. We say no. Women say no. Get out. He talks about, oh, I tried to go into the men's bathroom. They kicked me out. Yeah, bro, because you went in there wearing some like weird skimpy little like prostitute outfit with a friend, and you guys were live streaming and recording. How dare you? Nobody wants you to be recording in the bathroom. That's gross. And actually, you should have gotten charged with a crime for that. That should have been voyeurism. You should have gotten charged with a crime for trying to record people in the bathroom. That's the problem. It wasn't because like you could have just whipped your dick out and be like, nah, bro, I dress up as a woman to like bag dudes. I'm gay. And then go fucking stand at the urinal and take a piss. And everyone's like, oh, my bad. It's weird, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's how easily you could have solved that problem. You know, whip your dick out of the urinal. And everybody's like, oh, all right, well, weird, but whatever. I'll leave it alone. Oh, no, I couldn't. They just wouldn't have it. They said I had to. They threw me out. I just decided that if I wanted to be a good person, the right thing to do would be to go where I make the least stir. I wonder how many women have, like, looked at him and, like, been uncomfortable. Or I wonder how many, I'm sure women have said something to him before. And I'm sure that him and his little friends get all sassy and basically shut it down. But we'll never hear those stories. Now, will we, Bobby? Keep it a bean.
Because if that's facts, I think we can scratch the research. I think the research should go as far as you looking down your pants or up your skirt or whichever direction you have to look at to find the affected area, and you be honest with yourself about which bathroom you really belong in. If we're doing facts, that's as far as the research needs to go.
And with the information that's presented in front of us.
And yes, it is in front of us in all cases.
It seems like we're the ones that's teaching everybody else because we live in a predominant cis world. We're teaching them about us. And I just really think we cannot afford to be intellectually dishonest about our experiences as trans.
You should have stopped it. We can't afford to be intellectually dishonest. You didn't even have to add the as trans. As people, as human beings, we can't afford to be
has anybody like found any sort of like logical consistency with this guy? It's like he's so disingenuous. He's literally playing all sides just to cover all things. So he's trying to appease the trans community by being like, oh no, don't worry, some of you passed. And of course they're all fucking delusional. So they're all like, oh well, good, I probably fall in that group. They're all equally delusional to be like, yeah, it's everybody else that's the problem. I'm one of the good guys. You know, that's why it's so great. And that's why everybody supports you, Ty, because everybody in their mind can do the mental gymnastics to tell themselves that, like, no, you're not talking about them. You're talking about those other people. You know, but then you get to pretend like you're based by being like, oh, saying these things like, yo, the only thing that you need to do is look in your pants and then go in the bath. But bro, you're literally saying that like dudes like Blaire are cool in the women's bathroom, which again, I don't know how the fuck you think you're the authority on that. We don't consent. Women say no. You're some gay man trying to speak over us. Again, sir, no one gives a shit. You feel me? Like, so has anybody can somebody like draw a diagram and try to help me break down his logic? Because I think we need like a visual map to try to like piece this all together, because I'm not really following how any of this makes sense.
That's as far as that sentence is needed to go. And you're right. So, which is it? Are you male or female? What are you when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of it? The meat and potatoes of it? The fruits and... All right. The fruits and nuts. Nobody even says the fruits and nuts of it. Okay, can I not have fun? Can I live, please? What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Just gonna ask, as always, that you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to comment, just
do none of those things. Do not like, do not comment, do not subscribe, unlike, and then go hit his comments up and be like, bro, what type time are you on? And then also ask him if he wants to debate me and Karen, because me and Karen want to tap in. Or me, or Karen, or whatever. Okay? Ty, you down? And the thing is, I'm just gonna like systematically go after each one of these dudes. It's not just him. I'm gonna do like a whole series, and it's like, because again, I think that like, even though it seems like, oh, it's petty considering all the other bad stuff that's going on with how enough people are drawing attention to that, and I think that it's very important to call out these more subtle, insidious things that's going on with the true trans stuff, because a lot of people don't understand how much they're still protecting these AGPs. Why does everybody think that just because someone's an autogynephile that they're going to be some like weirdo, ugly dude with like a Party City wig? You really think that some of these AGPs are not going to get sophisticated enough to look better than a Blaire White? Why do we assume? And why do we assume that every homosexual, transsexual is going to be some like, Eden the doll? Like they're as if bears don't exist, right? As if some fat gay men don't exist. As if some like autistic, awkward, fat gay men who look really silly don't exist. As if there aren't going to be some really good-looking straight men, some like sex. Even I always talk about this. Fucking Phil Illy is he's a good-looking guy. He's like tall. His like body is on point. So, if he wanted to, he's got like a receding, balding hairline kind of deal going on, and his face is a little bit like ass. But it's like, I'm sure if he really wanted to put in the time and effort and money, now he gets off on, like, he's actually not an autogynephile, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. He doesn't even understand the ideology of the thing that he claims to have, and neither clearly does Jen Spector or any of these other idiots who are co-signing him, because autogynephilia is actually not clothing target. It's not a clothing target fetish. That's fetishistic transvestism. Okay, he has no interest in actually altering his body to like basically skinwalk women, right? They always say that, and if you look at the Blanchardian theories on autogynephilia, he makes that very clear, that there is a difference between fetishistic transvestism, which has to do about wearing women's clothing, which is what Phil Illy's into, and autogynephilia, which is not about clothing. Clothing is sort of like a side thing, but it's about the actual, like, either biological processes, like, breastfeeding. That's why you have like the nominal Naomi who's inducing lactation, or having a period. It's like all the trans-identified males who are like, I'm having period cramps. And it's like, bro, what? And then like, or the guys who like want to get a BBL or get breast implants, you know what I mean? Or get, get on like hormones. There's different targets, but it all has to do with the body and physicality. Phil's only target, as far as I can see, is female clothing, which is not autogynephilia. That's fetishistic transvestism. That's a whole different thing. That's a different etiology. It's just different. Yeah, ContraPoint says I have good production value. He definitely seems like somebody who went to like
just to help me out
to like video art school.
Put on the algorithm and you don't know what to comment, just put a knife, because do not
do that. Don't do that. If you need to comment something on him, tell him that he needs to debate me and Karen, or just tell him to check out the video.
Definitely gonna come for my neck on this one, and you also know that I don't care. This one is probably gonna be done in a couple of parts because it's a
Riley Dennis is beautiful. He's got beautiful skin. Like, some of them are like actually attractive. Like, he's good looking as a man. I think Laverne Cox is beautiful. That's kind of like more my like but he's like 6'5". He's like built. He's got these like beautiful lips. Some of them are attractive. Now, he's actually a homosexual, transsexual. But yeah, Riley Dennis. Like, I'm sure there's more. You know what I mean? Just because you're heterosexual, you're an autogynephile, does not mean you're going to be some, like, beastly monster. And just because you're a homosexual, transsexual, like, no offense, but Rose of Dawn. Rose of Dawn is a homosexual, transsexual, and he's not attractive. He's, like, a little, like, dumpling guy with, like, a slightly receding hairline. And he's one of the ones that were always, like, the good ones. He seems like a nice enough guy, and he did a good job of highlighting the absurdity of the, oh, fuck, can I have some wine? He did a good job of, like, highlighting the Trans Day of Remembrance as being, like, bullshit. And, like, the whole called, like, trans genocide as being bullshit. I can't reach. Oh, thanks. Oh. He won't come on. But love. If only I could pick up if I could pick up my computer, I'd just follow him around, but I can't.
A really long video. If you watch the whole debate, it was an hour and change. I will do a couple more videos about this because I think they do.
Yeah, Riley Dennis has a really nice complexion, and he's got like those little like beauty marks and stuff, and it's like, why wouldn't you just stick with that? You know, or also, what was the big WWE wrestler who, it's like, I think he was a little too like steroid head for me, and he's like, does the fake tan and like receding hairline, but he was obviously like a really like masculine man that I'm sure a lot of women would really be into. You know, some of these men can certainly attract women. It's like, but they get off on the idea of being like a trans lesbian. It's just all like porn addicted, totally.
Do discuss some things that are very important. There's also a part where the black trans woman by the name of Blossom at a point tells Blaire White,
Isaac is attractive from like the neck up. No offense. I saw a full body picture of Isaac, and those hormones were not good to him, and neither is like the, no offense, but like being like a total shut-in and like never going outside or like exercising. It's like, you know, those like slim flabby people who are just like out of shape. It's like they're not fat, but they're like skinny fat people. They just have no muscle and just like kind of like just like soft body. He's like that. It's like, you know how they keep like baby veal, like baby, like cows for veal, and try to make it so that they're real like soft by like not letting them exercise. It's like that kind of. He has beautiful hair and like lips, I think that's like as far as it goes.
It's something like, you should never interrupt a black trans woman or something like that, and I do want to talk about that. So I'll put that video out tomorrow. Anyway, there was trans liberals versus trans conservatives, and to be honest, I thought it really showcased how bad the trans liberals are at actually making their points when they can't fall back on political correctness and they aren't dealing with people.
Can we laugh at the fact that this chihuahua in the background has like a handle on his harness? That's actually really cute. I have a dog too. This is my dog. He has a dog and I have a dog. And my dog is a stinky dog. My dog is better though. Boston Terriers for the win.
People that are just willing to go with them because society right now tells us that the politically correct thing to do is, as soon as somebody identifies as trans, suddenly you can't argue with them, you can't question their thinking at all. You just have to accept that that's now everybody's truth, which isn't always the case.
This is where y'all's privilege come in.
Anytime somebody tries to throw somebody else's privilege in their face, that is a clear sign that the person that's throwing that really has lost their argument, because that's all they can do is blame something like privilege rather than saying, this is exactly where you're wrong, or this is where I think you're missing the point. And when you ask why we're having this debate and why we should consider women's feelings over trans people's feelings,
you seem to be looking at through the lens of always trans being the priority. I'm looking at through the lens of women being the priority here. There's plenty of situations.
Why? I just want to know
because
why.
Well, that's because it's a female bathroom. So that's technically their bathroom. And when you're talking about the women's bathroom in general, the trick to being able to use the women's bathroom is to look like a woman. If you look like a woman, and you don't have to be the most passable, but if you reasonably look like a woman, if you look like you're trying, and I do mean really trying to look like a woman, there's a good chance nobody's going to give you a problem. This has never...
You want to know why that is, sir? Here, I'm going to make myself big for this tie. I'm looking at you now, right? As a woman to you, a gay man, who I feel like you being gay means you're even like less in touch with women's issues. Than if you were like a married man who, loved his wife and was really connected to her and understood kind of what she went through. Believe it or not, there are some of those. As a woman, it's not that just because you're trying to pass and that's why women don't confront these men. It's because women are scared, okay? we've seen enough of the public freakouts from a lot of these guys and how much they don't take kindly to being told that they don't pass or being told to leave. Women are socialized to just be agreeable, and we are very conscious of male violence against women. So if a woman is not saying something, there are literally videos being posted, I think it was in China, where there was a Chinese autogynephile who was all dressed up as a woman and who kept taking his penis out in front of the mirror and jerking off like in front of the mirror. He had like a little schoolgirl outfit on, and a woman that came out and she was like, oh my God. And she was like washing her hands, and you could tell like her heart must have stopped. And she just kind of kept washing her hands, and she was just going like this and like just grabbed the thing. Like she looked like frozen in fear. Didn't say anything. He kind of looked over her and kept doing it. Penis full out, no shame. She was in the back, and then you could tell he kept angling a little bit to like capture her in the background of the frame and then angle it down at himself. It was horrific. I saw it on Twitter. There are a lot of videos like that. And you could tell this woman was so afraid, and she kind of like gathered her things and she like left. And you could tell she probably was just like in shock. Okay, a lot of women do not feel comfortable going up to a strange man in closed again, in bathrooms. There's no video cameras, there's no people public, you know. So you think in a closed little confined space, you're gonna go up to somebody who you know is clearly delusional if he's playing dress up as a woman, and try to tell him that he doesn't pass and he needs to get out, after we've seen how these men freak out. And especially any woman who has dealt with any level of rejection violence. Any woman who has like existed in the world for any amount of time and who has had to tell men no, who give you sexual advances, knows how scary that can be. And you're sitting there and you're just like, I don't know how to get out of this. If you're too nice and polite, they'll say that you're leading them on. If you're rude and you're like, get the fuck away from me, then they'll get aggressive back. If you're just trying to be like, no, I'm like, no, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm okay. And they're like, no. And they'll keep following you and they'll keep pressuring you and pestering you. And you're just like, please, God, leave me alone. And you're just trying to come up with any way just to like, no, it's okay. Yeah, I remember, oh my God, when I was 16, I don't know, Karen might remember this. Karen, do you remember, especially because of where you're from, I was CBGBs in OMFG or something, or OMFUG or something. The CBGBs, that like punk rock place, I think it's in Brooklyn or Manhattan, that old school. I went to one of the last shows ever there. It was like the home of punk. I don't remember what the band was that I saw, but I went to one of the last, and I remember my mom used to have a timeshare in Manhattan. I used to go up with her. I think it was like 16. I told her, like, could we go every year? And I started to get to know Manhattan pretty well. And I was like, Mom, I'm going to go to this like punk rock show, like by myself, you know? And I was pretty independent. She's like, yeah, cool, no problem. I was like, it's just a few blocks away, you know, whatever. And I don't remember why I didn't have a phone. But I went anyway. I got a taxi on the way back. It was some like Arabic guy. I was in the back. I started knowing, I was not that far away, but the ride started feeling like all of a sudden like suspiciously long. And I was like, kind of like looked out. I was like, are we close? He's like, yeah, just a few blocks up. And he was like, you know, he's like, you're very beautiful. And I was like, oh, okay, like, thanks. He's like, yeah. And he was like, so what do you think? Would you want to come touch it? And I was like, excuse me? He's like, you want to come? And I like, he kind of like, you know, angled his thing, and I like angled, and I looked, all of a sudden I realized like his whole like dick and balls were like out. And he was like stroking his dick as he was driving, and I was like, oh my God. I remember my like heart dropped into my stomach and I felt like sick. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, and I kind of like and he was driving, and I remember just kind of like putting my hand like on the door. I was like, am I gonna need to like jump out of the car? And I was like, oh, huh. I was like, oh, no, thank you. He's like, come on, just one, come, just put your hand on it. And I was like, oh, I was like, no, thank you, sir. I was like, you could just drop me off here, actually. I think I'm pretty close. I can just walk from here. And he's like, no, I drive you. And I was like, And I just remember being like, oh my God. And he like wouldn't slow down. And I kept waiting. I was like, please God, let there be like, but it was pretty late at night and there wasn't like a lot of people on the road. And he was just like, and I was like, please God, let there be. And the even worse part was I didn't remember. I didn't know the area well enough to just be able to walk home. And I couldn't remember like, yeah. And it was like, and it was late at night, and I was like, fuck, I don't know what's more dangerous. Just like trying to convince this guy to get me as close to my home as possible, or just getting out at dark in New York City by myself at 16 years old and walking the streets alone. So I remember I just kind of kept just trying to like stall. I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, first I was like, no, thank you. No, but then he kind of was being pushy about it. And I just remember being like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe, how about I give you like my number and then like we can like meet up later. I was like, I'm just kind of like not feeling great right now. Like, you know, and like, it's like you're just sitting there racking your fucking brain, praying that this guy's not going to flip out or go park somewhere or lock the door or reach back. And then he like kind of like he did. He tried to like reach back and like put like try to like rub my like knee. And I was like, please God. And I was like 16. And I was so fucking scared, right? So if you want to know why women aren't saying anything, is because I'm not the only woman who's had an experience like that. Not by a long shot. It's just something that we all grow up with. And it fucking scares me to death having 2 daughters, knowing that it's just like part of the female experience is being like totally sexually violated and harassed by randos. The guy's saying that he's like jerking. I don't know if he eventually came or something. I think what happened was I eventually hopped out. I eventually got to a point where he slowed down enough and I jumped out and I fucking ran. And it was scary because I was like, I don't even know how to figure out where the fuck to go from here. And I did eventually figure out how to get home. And it's like, so if you want to know why women aren't jumping up to go say something to these cross-dressing freaks, sir, it's because the vast, vast majority of us have a story like that in their history. We know how aggressive these guys can get. We know how they don't like, some of them really cannot handle being told no. It's like if you're too nice about it, then it's basically a yes, even if you're saying no. If you're mean about it, then you're a slut, whore, bitch. And he's gonna, you know, he doesn't like the fact that you just basically like, you know, bruised his ego and he's gonna fucking make you pay. Or it's like, or you kind of like acquiesce a little bit and hope that you can kind of get out of it later. And you just, it's like every angle you can fucking try to take, you try to take. And it's like there's no easy way out. So yeah, if you want to know why most women aren't jumping up, it's because they're scared. They're scared. Something you don't understand. You don't get to fucking speak for us.
Been a thing until we started having transgender, which was a person identifying as anything they wanted to, and then we're all supposed to just be like, okay, well then I guess you're a woman. No, I guess you're a woman. You either are trying to be a woman, or you are a woman, or you stay out of the women's bathroom. It's as simple as that. It's not really that hard of a debate, and I don't know.
Those are the options. You're either give it a try, as long as he's giving it his best shot, he can come and what? Whip his dick out in the bathroom. Go fuck yourself, Ty. I'm telling you, you wanna debate me? I want all the smoke. You don't like that I'm doing a 3-hour stream ripping you apart? Let's talk about it. You think that you can debate me? You think you could do a better job? You think you can put me on blast and show me? I would love to see you try. I would love to, because you're all sorts of tough when it comes to like dunking on these like weirdo troons from TikTok. You know, you're all tough when you're like calling them out and you're like super based. Okay? So you seem like you got the ego thing going on. So why don't you come deal with a turf that you guys don't like either? Right? I'm sure you'll do fine. You shouldn't be nervous of that. You know, you have, what, 40,000 followers? I can barely clear 10, Ty. You've been doing this for a year, and you have almost 4 times the amount of subscribers as me. You should be fine. Who the fuck am I? I'm just some rando mom from, You know, the East Coast. I got my friend Karen. She's just some nice little, you know, music teacher and my nice little teacher lady. Nothing to be scared of there either. Nothing to be scared of Karen. I love, like, I want to, like, unleash Karen onto somebody who, like, unsuspecting. Be like, yeah, like, oh, you know, they're like, oh, that'll be an easy slam dunk. I'm like, yeah. Oh, why don't you, my friend Karen Davis here. Should be an easy win, and just watch her just fucking destroy somebody.
Oh, why it takes this much back and forth to figure out something so simple. Women have never given a problem to trans women using bathrooms. It only was when we started getting these boys that were saying that they were trans just so that they could feel special that suddenly this became a thing, because then that allowed men that didn't have good intentions to be able to use the women's bathroom too, and then that led to situations like the situation they talk about in this video where they mentioned that there was a man in the women's bathroom that a woman snapped a picture of that was, let's say,
Rebecca Pender says Karen is our Trojan horse. Yes, she is. She looks like this nice lady. Nice lady, like, just a teacher in the world. Yeah, like, yeah, let's just sick Karen onto people. Karen is our Trojan horse.
Excited. Do we not see how this all works against actual trans women? And the reason that non-binary, if you're non-binary, meaning you don't care about being male or female, you don't.
Karen does, like, cute little piano sing-alongs. What could be so scary about Karen? She does little, like, piano songs, and they're cute. She does Christmas carols, turf carols, you know, nothing to be worried about there. Just, you know, just don't think too much, just go for it. Oh, I gotta go, guys. Yeah, honey. Yeah. You want to go now?
Sure.
All right, I love you. Do you need your, all right, I got